Yes, good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. I welcome for this session. We're just about to start. And as we start formally, I want to request my colleague, David, to open with a word of prayer.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's pray. Our dear loving Heavenly Father, once again are grateful for having given us this opportunity to discuss matters towards national development, matters related to science, technology, and innovation. We ask for your presence to abide with us, your wisdom and knowledge, that at the end of it, we may have a great participation and a clear understanding of the importance of science, technology, and innovation towards national development. We give you all the glory and honor, and at the end of it, we'll remember to give thanks. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Good. Thank you, David. Once again, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for finding time to be with us this morning. And on behalf of NACOSTI and on behalf of the NACOSTI STI Mainstreaming Committee, I really want to take this opportunity to welcome you for this session and thank you for dedicating this time to us. It is important, we don't take it for granted. Again, this being our third quarter sensitization, we want to really feel honored for your presence and your time because you're busy with your schedules, but you are agreeing with us. This is important that we have this meeting. It's our commitment to have every quarter this kind of discussion so that we're able to make it easy for implementation. And for that matter, we want to go straight into the program, what we had initiated. Want to welcome those who are participating for the first time. Feel welcome. You are where you belong. Thank you so much for those who have been with us. Again, as we always indicate, this is a national agenda, so we need to be together in this.
Like now, this guy is talking. I can't hear what he's saying.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let me try to just quickly see if I could. Yeah, just a moment, colleagues. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. We can clearly see your screen.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you, Javan. And sorry for that small hiccup. So, distinguished participants, I just want to take a few minutes or so to just share in a very brief manner the reason we are here and how we're going to transact the business. Mainly just to introduce this, but we have been this science, technology, and innovation streaming indicator. And again, that's being our third quarter sensitization. We want to be guided by how indicator looks. But the most important thing for this opportunity, we want to appreciate we are dealing with one of the critical segments of our public sector, being the universities and research institutions. This indicator is at the core of your day-to-day business, in terms of your functions, in terms of even your mandate. So again, this is your indicator. This is your mechanism to fast track what we do. So, but again, only take this opportunity also to welcome those who have taken the opportunity to join, those who are not from the university sector and the research institution. Also feel welcome, because again, it's our business to work with you, to work together, again, to have this discussion, but mainly take it as your forum so that we are able to get your issues around the implementation of this. So having said that, allow me to just share the indicator as it is, because it is important for us to have this discussion guided by what we are expected to do this financial year. And the indicator needs some indicators looks like exactly that. One of the main issues we are supposed to do is to develop those STI mainstreaming strategy, which we do appreciate most of you have them in place. Those who have it, you are in the implementation phases. So that is our main issue that we'll discuss today. And again, the issues of continuous improvement in terms of implementations and reporting. So this is the indicator, the way it looks like. And now this is where we are drawing our objectives for this discussion this morning. And what we are indicating is that for us, we want to really invest and request for your time so that we are able to have an effective implementation of this important agenda for the country. So this morning, we have lined up a number of issues that we need to discuss, the objectives. One of the things and main issue is the online reporting tool that we are looking forward to increase the efficiency in reporting and addressing the issues of accuracy. This is a direct response to yourselves and your comments and your suggestion during a stakeholders forum that you would wish the COSTI to revise its reporting tools. It has been revised, and we'll have an opportunity to interact with it. And more important is because immediately after this training, it will be open for reporting for Q3. So it is, as I said in the opening remarks, it is your forum so that we are able to discuss issues around reporting. We want to just quickly gloss over the issues of what are the requirements, particularly for those who are coming as committee members for the first time. That what are you required to do in terms of this indicator as focal persons and champions. Those who are developing the strategy, because there are a number of institutions that we are engaging, developing the strategy. You will allow us just to gloss over again the template that we have shared for the purpose of developing your institutional mainstreaming strategy. It's a generic template that we have shared for everybody to be on the same page. We'll have an opportunity later to get just the current trends and perspective in matters research, science, technology, and in ecosystem, because this is where you are the drivers. again, we need to know where we are headed, what are the current issues, what are the challenges, and what do we need to do.
Director, sorry, we can't hear you. Kindly unmute.
Okay, David, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Yes, okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to end there and more so to request our colleagues to take this as their forum so that we're able to get all the issues around implementation of this indicator. And at that point, we will just kindly request you that you allow us to tweak a little bit the program, the way it looks like. We want to start with the overview of that regulatory framework, but we want to, at this point, to welcome our colleague and resource person, Javan Mwiti, to take up the first session in terms of giving us an overview of this indicator. So I think Javan, if you are ready, you can take up the floor so that give us that overview. Then we'll quickly follow with the template, and for those who are developing the template and the online reporting tool to follow in that sequence. And finally, we crown it over with just an overview of the RSTI ecosystem trends and issues. If that is agreeable, ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite Javan to open up our session with the first session, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Briefly, I share my slide. Thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, clearly.
Thank you, Dr. Gigi. Ladies and gentlemen, as you've been told, my name is Javan Mwiti. I'll be sharing with you basically the overview of this indicator in terms of experience, in terms of best practice, in terms of the best way for efficient and effective implementation of the indicator. And as it has been indicated, we'll be looking at this indicator basically from the 18 cycle implementation, which started by 2021, 2022 up to now, whereby we are now implementing the 20th cycle of this indicator in the performance contracting guidelines. And basically we'll be looking at the journey, how the journey has been, what are some of the main lessons that we need to input, and basically borrowing from the practice in terms of performance contracting process, where it borrows mostly from MTP2, MTP1, 2, where we started implementing the indicator, to MTP4, the Medium Term Plan 4, where we are currently, which was launched by President last week. And of course, see the relationship in terms of the harmonization of the indicator itself and the aspirations from Vision 2030, MTP4, our strategic plans and all that. So basically that will be the brief journey that I'll be taking you through. And the main agenda, I mean, the main purpose for this presentation basically is basically to provide you with information to enable and appreciate the critical role of science, technology, and innovation mainstreaming across MDAs. We'll also be looking at the impact, shared experiences since inception in terms of implementing the indicator, where we started with this indicator as R&D, that is research and development. Of course, from 18th cycle, performance contracting guidelines, to now where we are, the 20th cycle. And of course, we'll be analyzing and looking at some of the strategies that have been put in place in terms of ensuring effective and efficient implementation. We shall also interrogate the aspirations within Vision 2030, where STI mainstreaming is an enabler. And of course, the newly launched MTP4, which was launched last week, and how the 5th generation guidelines that were released by the Ministry of Treasury and Planning, and specifically the State Department of Economic Planning, how, again, the harmonization between the 5th generation guidelines of strategic plan, MTP4, better, the 5 pillars of better, and more so the STI mainstreaming. So basically those relationships, the best way in terms of mainstreaming and how we can be able to move forward as technically we in that quarter. We are basically in that quarter that technically that we are reporting on, that ends by this week, and we expecting, of course, to conclude this by 4th quarter, where we'll be doing our report by 15th by 15th of July, after the end of the 4th quarter. So basically that it is, and in it, as I've said, the PC platform has been the main platform under which we are able to mainstream this indicator. Of course, STI mainstreaming is just one among the many indicators that we're implementing as universities and research institutions, basically as MDAs. But quickly, looking at the inception of this indicator, we used to have it as R&D, that is research and development, up to around 2013, where basically it was under the commandate still, but the main aspect of it was at least 2% allocation to support matters R&D. And by that time, you realize there were very few MDAs that were participating. They were mostly universities and research institutions. But as you realize now, with the enlargement of this indicator, with the enactment of the Act, STI Act of 2013, revised in 2014, the indicator, of course, was broadened. There was low coordination and compliance at that particular time. There was no clear coverage. If you look at MTP1, Medium Term Plan 1 and 2, basically, and look at how the coverage, how adequate and sufficient was already covered, you realize it was not given the expected wide coverage. And then MTAs rarely captured the indicator. We realized that under sector performance standards, which are SPSS, which is SPS, basically there was no clear coverage of the same. So basically that is the journey with the indicator started as R&D, and as we move forward, as now we move forward, we look at the introduction of this indicator and STI mainstreaming, that is from 18th cycle to 20th cycle for the last 3 years that the indicator has been implemented. It is now compulsory under the core mandate. Again, under core mandate, you appreciate that within our core mandate as a university and research institution, that's where we transact our real business. And the expectation is that we need to mainstream matter science, research, science, technology, innovation, the entire ecosystem within our core mandate. You realize again the 2% allocation for support of R&D is basically a subset now. It's just one activity among the activities that needs to be implemented or undertaken by MDAs. Implementation and application is scoped on implementation of Vision 2030. STI, Science, Technology, Innovation, is an enabler. Number 2 under Vision 2030, and we shall be interrogating MTP4, and we realize that also within MTP4, it has been given a lot of emphasis, whereby again, it's an enabler that is meant to enable actualization of the aspirations of Medium-Term Plan 4. When you look at better again, the 5 pillars, again, you realize science, technology, innovation is part and parcel. And again, when you look at our development, when we are developing all MDAs, were requested to realign their strategic plans with BETA and MTP4. And in that, we are the 5th generation guidelines, strategic plan, 5th generation guidelines that again integrated matters MTP4 and matters BETA, so that as you realign your strategic plan, ideally, you'll be capturing matters matters science, technology, innovation. As we said, if you look at MTP4, matters science, technology, innovation have been taken care of. And of course, when you realign, then the expectation is that your strategic plan, which is the main document in terms of the planning for the institution, has already captured those matters. And as in the earlier presentation, it was indicated, one of the documents you develop is the STI strategy. And as you develop STI strategy, the document to guide you is your strategic plan. Because again, you realize within it, you always have objective that addresses matters, science, technology, innovation, where you're identifying once you identify your strategic issues, then you identify the goals, then you identify the key result areas. After the key result areas, you realize within your key result areas, you'll be speaking to matters, science, technology, and innovation. And of course, as you develop the objective, the strategies, and the activities, then you are able to cater for the same. There is a lot of huge improvement in number of MDAs onboarded. Again, a number of MDAs that have been onboarded or brought on board since the 18th cycle implementation, the numbers have increased. And of course, that speaks, that helps, that also speaks in matters when we talk about when we talk about mainstreaming. Basically, we can, NACOST is a specialized agency for this indicator, and the roles of a specialized agency as within other indicator that falls within the specialized agency is basically to develop the relevant performance indicator that has already been done and shared with us. We are now in third quarter in terms of reporting, to receive, analyze, and provide feedback on relevant performance indicator within 15 days from the date of submission. Again, as now we are preparing to report by 15th of next month, the expectation is that NACOST to receive that, analyze, and give you feedback. The essence of that feedback ideally is to help you improve on your the next quarter, and for this case, the fourth quarter. So the expectation is that the feedback, the analysis, and the feedback basically is to improve, is to help you ensure that as you report, then of course you report from a point where you are addressing any previous gaps that were existing. You provide, NACOST again as a specialized agency is supposed to provide technical support as they are doing right away in terms of ensuring effective and efficient implementation of the indicator. And of course, finally assess the annual performance of the MDA. That is by that after that 30th June, after the end of fourth quarter, then the performance in terms of how you have been able to undertake the indicator in first quarter, second quarter, and quarter to fourth quarter. And then, of course, you get a score, which is, of course, submitted to performance contracting and monitoring unit. Basically, when we talk about STI mainstreaming, basically is we are looking at objective. Most of us, I know currently we're implementing productivity mainstreaming. And with the productivity mainstreaming, you have realized that you set the metrics from the objectives. The question is, where do you get the objectives from? These objectives, ideally, you draw them from your strategic plan. How do you develop your PC? Your PC, again, is developed from your implementation matrix or the work plans within your strategic plan, meaning you are still going to the same objective. So the objectives, if you look at the process of getting STI mainstreaming on board, number one is through the set objective, which are within your core mandate. For you to actualize your core mandate, basically is through your objective, where again, you already have the indicator. So that means for us to be able to infuse matters STI mainstreaming, then the mandates, the programs and activities, which are broken down in terms of the objective. Remember, again, there is a close relationship with the 5th generation guidelines of the strategic plan, because again, that's where you have already identified your strategic issues, you have identified your goals, you have identified key result areas. From them, you break down into objectives, you break down objectives into activities, and then, objective into strategies and strategies into activities, meaning that's the entire process. So infusing simply means that within those objectives, then, as we implement, we need to ask ourselves when we look at our various objectives within our mandate, then as we develop, let's say, for example, your STI mainstreaming strategy, it must come around within those objectives. So there is a very close relationship which we need to have. In terms of relevance, I'll just look at directly again. If you look at where the indicator is in terms of positioning within the PC, the performance criteria and the rates is under core mandate. Again, that shows the importance. And again, it's within what we do in relation to our mandate. When we talk about relevance, Again, we start with Vision 2030. As I said, STI mainstreaming is an enabler under Vision 2030. When you look at the fourth medium-term plan, which seeks to accelerate, it basically seeks to accelerate science, technology, innovation for socioeconomic transformation. And that is, if you look at specifically at the MTP4 that was launched last week, and the foundation for socioeconomic transformation is where you find science, technology, and innovation. So this is an appreciation that indeed we need to ensure that science, technology, innovation becomes part and parcel of our core business. And this again was emphasized when we aligned our strategic plans with MTP4, which is already aligned to the requirement of science, technology, and innovation. And of course, from strategic plans, that's where we develop our performance contract. And from our performance contract, we develop our work plans. And for implementation purposes, you develop the work plan where you develop the performance contract. And the work plan basically actualizes the implementation matrix of your respective strategic plan. And thus, we can talk about the infusing, that aspect of having science, technology, and innovation as part and parcel of our processes. So maybe I'm encouraged, let's look at MTP4. It will be good to look at it because this is the document that is actualizing the last phase of Vision 2030, because we are doing the last MTP4. And within this last MTP4, still matter, science, technology, innovation are canvassed and clearly indicated. So it means as you develop your STI strategy, these the guidance, you are well guided. We need to ensure that these aspirations, the objectives that we are developing to actualize those strategic issues, those issues that we need to address within our STI strategy, then there is a close relationship. These documents speak highly about the same. So this is very, very important. When you look at MTP4s, as I started by saying earlier, when you look at our first MTP4, which ran from 2008 to 2012, basically covered STI in form of R&D, just a small subset of science, technology, innovation, research and development, where the 2% allocation was the aspect, was the critical aspect of the same. So implementation, the real implementation started at MTP3, which ended, of course, by June last year, 2023. And by that, of course, we now have the MTP4, which is also being actualized by BETA, the five pillars. And in that, we are able to talk about implementation. When you look at the MTP4 in terms of the implementation matrix, what they are referring to as MTP4 development priorities, you find STI. There are clear areas that they have been marked for STI implementation. So basically, that is very, very critical. Coming back to our PCs, when you look at our core mandate, it takes us a weight of around 65. This is from our performance, our PCs that we have already signed for implementation. And within the core mandate, of course, is where we have science, technology, innovation, and you can see the weighting, 65. The total weight for it is 65. Looking at, for example, if you have to use an non-commercial, where most of us are non-commercial state cooperation matrix for performance contract, when you look at the core mandate, the first performance criteria is financial stewardship and discipline. But basically this is where you are locating. This is where you are having your approved budget, your institutional approved budget, where the expectation is that now, when you talk about, let's say, for example, 2% allocation for R&D, the activities within STI mainstreaming, which 2% is just one of them, then you take care of them around there. Service delivery, again, when you look at it, is basically what you're doing to the citizen, the services that you're offering. And one of it is digitalization, which of course is a key pillar within BETA. So again, that is for consideration. So basically, what we are saying is the science, technology, innovation is taken care under the core mandate, which of course shows the relationship and the relevance and the importance of the same. Talking about the impact of this indicator since implementation, one of the things that has come out very clearly is about the appointment of focal persons and champions to ensure effective mainstreaming within our universities and research institutions. And that means coordination, providing necessary support, basically mainstreaming across, so that effectively, once you build the capacity of the focal persons and champions, then you can be able to use the same in terms of cascading and helping the institutions to be able to implement, coordinate. For example, in coordination and implementation of STI strategy, most of MDAs have already developed the STI strategies. They are now implementing. They are developing work plans in terms of implementation. And that also has an impact in itself in terms of mainstreaming. So basically what we are saying is that because one of the requirements in 2023-2024 PC performance contract is the appointment or reappointment of both the focal persons and champions. And these are the critical persons. These are very critical persons in terms of effective implementation within our respective institutions, so that once your capacity is built, then you are able also to cascade the same downstream to other departments. For example, champions are supposed to come from relevant departments. And with that, basically, then it means we are able to cascade the expectant or the planned activities within those respective areas. So one of the requirements under 2023-2024 STI mainstreaming requirement is to either appoint or reappoint focal person. And I believe that has happened, because today we are training both the focal persons and then champions. And this is a requirement for you first before you start implementing the indicator. What are the roles of the focal persons? You ensure overall coordination of this indicator within your institution, as per, of course, the 20th cycle guidelines of performance contract. This is very critical. So ideally, the focal person is the overall coordinator of this indicator within the institution. And the expectation here is that your institution, your university or research institution, you expect them to, with the focal person and champions, to form what is referred to as STI mainstreaming committee, either for the university or for the research institution, where the focal person ideally is the chair and then champions are members. So basically, as you can see, the focal person plays a critical role, and the focal person, you can only have one focal person per institution, but there could be many champions depending with the uniqueness of the institution. So again, the focal person provides necessary support for various levels in their universities or research institution. They plan and ensure sensitization. For example, every time NACOS does sensitization and capacity building across, they normally liaise with the focal persons. Again, if you realize, you need, for example, you realize that because NACOS every quarter, they will always organize this free virtual online sensitization. But if you feel like, again, you need more, probably you need help in terms of developing your STI strategy if you have not developed, or maybe further training of the champions and maybe the focal person. Again, the focal person is the person who does the request to NACOS, liaises with NACOS, and then NACOS is able to help you. So in terms of planning, sensitization, and capacity building, again, that is a critical role that should be played by the focal person. Coordination and development and implementation of STI strategy. Again, this strategy is a requirement and will be taken through the same on how to develop and the expectations. So it is the responsibility of the focal person to ensure that not only is the strategy developed, but also in terms of implementation, coordination, and of course, you'll be helped by champions, by your committee, which you chair, which is the STI Science, Technology, Innovation Committee, or mainstreaming committee for the university or for the research institution, so that you're able also to develop the strategy and also ensure implementation. To ensure implementation, basically, is the development of the work plan, and then within those work plan on yearly basis, then you are able to implement the strategy. Establish and implement monitoring and evaluation mechanism. Again, you need to ensure here you can decide through the champions, because champions come from respective each and every department. Then they are able to monitor, they're able to ensure implementation, they're able to ensure effective monitoring. And of course, because reporting basically will come from different departments, from finance, HR, and all that, then that becomes critical. You can also decide to work with performance contracting departments or directorate, because already they have established a monitoring infrastructure within the institution. You can also decide to borrow from that. But it is the responsibility of the focal person, of course, assisted by the champions within, by the committee, by the STI Ministerial Committee for Institution, to ensure that this happens. Collaborations, promotion of STI activities, and lastly, ensuring that quarter reports, like now we're in that quarter, and the report will be submitted by 15th of next month. It is the responsibility of the focal person to ensure that this happens. It is the responsibility of the focal person to ensure that the report, how you do the report, the best practice, which we need to be sharing today, is that the report should be done by the committee. You call the committee together, you request, because you realize one of the responsibility of a champion is to forward this report. So you get all the report from the relevant department. You sit as a committee where the focal person is the chair, and now you develop your report. As will be taken through in terms of reporting, the process has been automated. It will be very easy when you do it as a committee, but it's the responsibility of the focal person to ensure that this report is done and submitted to NACOST, so that there are no delays, because as you know, the guidelines are very clear. In case you don't submit on time, again, you are penalized, because that is already prescribed clearly in the guidelines. So in terms of ensuring timely reporting and the report, of course, again, accuracy of those reports, credibility of the report. Remember the relationship between output and input, that what comes out of you is an output, which becomes an input for example, a cost. So it must be credible. It must meet, you must provide that data that of course informs the next process. So this is critical, and it is the responsibility of the focal person to ensure that happens. Who should be there? And this has always been communicated, but we know today we are having new focal persons with us and new champions who have been appointed. And it's always good to bring this to their attention so that all of us move together. You are either in top or middle level management, but basically the critical aspect, you should be conversant with matters, research, science, technology, and innovation, so that in universities, of course, the universities are clearly, there are very clear structures on this, maybe for research institutions or other MDAs. This is basically to guide. But I know most of our institutions, it's very clear who should be the focal person, because it matters on research, science, technology, and innovation. So people conversant with that area, and I'm happy, because all of us who are attending today basically have met that criteria. Next is champion. As we said, focal person will be one, but the champions can be 1, 2, 3, 4, but whichever the number. But of critical, they should represent. There should be a fair representation of all the key departments. Because again, when you look at how you report, you realize you are getting report from different departments within your institution. So you must ensure that the people you call champions, because these are the ones who will ensure that you have clear report, you have timely report, you have credible report from their respective areas, and they also help you build capacity within their respective areas. So basically, they ensure day-to-day implementation of the indicator, the activities. They will have specific activities within their area that needs to be done, and it is their responsibility to ensure that is done. They also help in cascading of those activities within their respective areas. Very important, preparing and forwarding quarterly reports. So from their area, they need to be, for example, assume you have a champion who is in finance, who represent finance department. We are already filling a table on finance. That champion becomes very critical in terms of gathering that information from finance so that you're able to report that information. You have another champion from, let's say, HR, because you realize in terms of reporting, there are those aspects of HR that you need to report on. It becomes easier when you have a champion from that department, so that the getting of that information becomes more easy, more efficient, and more effective. Then, of course, providing timely information. Again, champions, as we said, play a very critical role. In fact, for monitoring and evaluation, for effective implementation of this indicator, champions are very, very critical. And again, as we said, the champions come from all critical departments. You ensure fair representation, because when you have a fair representation, inclusive and diverse representation, then you are able to get the information. You're able to get all the information you want in terms of what needs to be done. They are also able to identify gaps. You know, there are always being gaps with the process owners. They deal with process owners directly. So there are those gaps that they identify in process of implementation. Then again, they are able to bring that report to the committee, to the STI mainstreaming committee, which as the focal person as the chair and champions as members, and you're able to deliberate. Even when you get your feedback from NACOST on how you have performed on a specific quarter, that report again needs to come to this committee so that you discuss again, you identify the area so that champions can be able to take responsibility. They can identify those areas within their respective areas and what is expected of them is done. So ensure STI capacity building and sensitization, promotion of STI committed activities, and basically support within their respective areas. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, champions and focal person are critical, extremely critical for effective implementation of this indicator. Having their capacity, building their capacity to understand the indicator and what is expected of them then makes it easy in terms of effective mainstreaming within our universities and research institutions. We should be there of critical. And I know because you are running many other change management programs, we will always have champions. And champions basically are people who are able to lobby others to lobby and champion and transform matters, science, technology, innovation. They are able to move those matters across their respective areas. And I'm sure because today we are dealing with focal person and champions, that criteria has been met. So in terms of scope of this indicator, but again, let me emphasize before I finish on matters focal person and champions, please ensure establishment of that committee, the STI mainstreaming committee for your institution, where the focal person is the chair and champions are members. The secretariat, of course, will be any of the champion. And this committee is very critical in terms of effective and efficient implementation of this indicator. So let's know that in terms of experience and lesson that can help us effectively implement this indicator. In terms of scope, I've shared with you Vision 2030. I've shared with you, we have talked about MTP4, and we have realized that STI mainstreaming ideally is an enabler. So being an enabler, then all of us have a role. All of us are contributing to Vision 2030. All of us are actualizing MTP4, which ideally operationalizes the final aspect of Vision 2030 up to 2020, around 2028. So basically, what we are saying, as long as you have a role in terms of contributing to Vision 2030, MTP4, your own strategic plan, because all strategic plans currently have been aligned with MTP4 through the 5th generation guidelines that have been issued by State Department of Economic Planning. So basically all of us have a role to play. But for us today, the group that we are meeting, we don't need to re-emphasize. We are universities, research institutions, and matters research, science, technology, innovation is part of what we do. So basically, it is very, very clear. In terms of monitoring, reporting, and feedback, again, our guidelines are very clear. And now, that quota is coming to an end this week, by today, actually, and by Sunday, of course, but today is the last day, working day for this week. And by 15th of next month, we expect that report should be forwarded. This is very important. We need to emphasize on this because, again, as we said, NACOST as a specialized agency also has a responsibility. After 15th date receiving your report, then again they are supposed to analyze and give you a feedback again within 15 days. So you can see how the relationship of your output, how it is becoming an input, and then the output that comes back to you. Again, as will be taken through the reporting, NACOST has automated this entire process. And it becomes easy now in terms of reporting. All the information about reporting are in the website, and we are doing it online. So basically, efficiency and effectiveness have been infused in our processes. Again, feedback, where you always get feedback from NACOST, and the expectation is that once you get this feedback, again, you work with it. So from quarterly reporting, you get your feedback, you work on it to improve what you're supposed to do. What is the indicator for this year? You're either appointing or you're appointing a focal person. This has already been done. And of critical now is you are required either to develop the STI strategy, or you are either developing or implementing. So I know most of us have been developed, but you have many of us still who are in the process of developing. So we in each of the category. But depending whether you are developing or implementing, you are supposed to develop and implement an annual work plan. So again, all of us, because this is a requirement of first quarter, I know most of us have already done that, which is important. And then lastly, of course, you submit your quarterly report. This is a very easy, straightforward indicator, and that is with us. So when we talk about STI mainstreaming, basically for research institutions at the universities, basically we are looking at it from the planning perspective. We are looking at our various planning documentation. We are looking at our corporate work plans as an institution, which of course you develop from your strategic plan. You have annual department, or what you refer to as departmental work plans, that again, they have a connection from your annual work plan. You have our strategic plans, and let me emphasize again, when you look at your strategic plan, already all our plans have been aligned with 5th generation guidelines issued by State Department of Economic Planning. And by that, then we have mainstreamed already MTP4, matters MTP4, and better, because those guidelines have been developed clearly to incorporate those aspects. When again we incorporate those aspects, to realize already now we have our PCs, which have already identified STI as an indicator. And within that, again, our PCs borrow from our strategic plan. So there is a very close relationship. So by the time we are doing, for example, productivity mainstreaming, where we are setting metrics on our objective and thereafter collected data and then establish the index, the productivity index of the institution, you realize again you are doing that on the objectives that are already operationalized through your strategic, either through the strategic plan and your PC, your performance contract. So there is that close relationship. We'll be looking at mainstreaming, we'll look at quarterly reporting, we'll look at the scoring aspect, and basically an effective and lessons that we need to borrow from this. We have been having performance contracting department and directorate with us, which have already established the monitoring and evaluation mechanisms or infrastructure within the institution. Again, you can borrow from that so that you can effectively and efficiently declare that you are able to mainstream science, technology, and innovation. Key achievements, and it will be very important. As we said, one of the objectives is basically to share experiences and lessons so that we can have a very effective implementation for the remaining quarter for this year. When we talk about MDA STI strategies, you realize that, for example, and I'll use a very good example, the State Department of Economic Planning, if you look at their STI mainstreaming strategy, if you look at the STI strategy, some of the objectives they are put in place, some of the things they are pursuing is, for example, enhancement of the 2% R&D compliance, meaning as we do negotiation of our PCs, we negotiate with the ministry. But remember, Treasury is part and parcel for a negotiation up to the vetting process until we are vetted and we are reviewed. You realize again they play a critical role. So if Treasury picks the 2% on R&D compliance, then and we are negotiating with them our budget, that's a very big plus for us, because as we negotiate our institutional budget with Treasury, then again, and it's a requirement now, we need to work towards at least 2%. And in fact, if you look at MTP4, it is highly prescribed. Pronounce clearly the matters of working towards the 2% allocation. Then again, we'll be negotiating from a point of strength. Again, Treasury has done the same thing. Ministry of Education is also doing the same thing. So basically, we are saying as the ministries, and on Monday, sensitization was on ministries and state departments. When they embrace, then we'll find, because one of the challenges we've been having moving forward from R&D, when we started implementing this indicator from R&D status, is basically like the 2% allocation. It has been a big issue, but now it is a conversation. It is a conversation that has been picked by MTP4. It is a conversation that has been picked. MTP4 is being actualized within the 5th generation guidelines for strategic plan. And as we do that, as we mainstream that, then the discussion becomes easier. And then the government, that realization that we need to support research, science, technology, innovation by ensuring that at least that allocation is done, makes the discussion a bit easier. Another main point of improvement is that NACOST has automated and will be taken through the reporting process. They have made it, they have decided to make it easy to automate the process so that you infuse efficiency and effectiveness in terms of reporting. So that all these matters, as you meet as STI Ministreaming Committee for your institution, you have the data, you have all the information that you need to report on, then it becomes easy for you to upload that information. And you'll be taken through to see the improvement from the time that we are sending hard copies. You remember we used to have to use an email to submit our documentation. Now that has changed to where we are, and I believe you'll be taken through on the same. Holding timely capacity building for MDAs, again, every quarter, NACOS to do a free sensitization across MDAs, which ideally is supposed to build the capacity of the focal person and champions. They're, of course, planning also face-to-face moving forward and introducing even some modules to basically entrench more matters, science, technology, and innovation. And I think this will be canvassed later. But it's all geared towards building your capacity so that when you talk about these matters, research, science, technology, and innovation, which is a game changer in itself, then we will have implemented what is expected. Some of the challenges in terms of implementation, low budgetary allocation. Of course, the issue of 2%, and that's why I said, again, the ministries and the government is coming very close home to address this matter. And most of us who have keenly gone through MTP4 that was launched last week by the president, you agree with me, there is a lot of effort to address at least 2% allocation. But again, assume in your budget, assume as a university or research institution, you didn't allocate directly 2%, at least 2% on your budget. You need also to look at what you are spending in the area of science, technology, and innovation. In the area of research, science, technology, and innovation, all those expenditures, all the money that you are spending, you are buying equipment, for example, you are carrying those projects, all the money that goes around that area needs to be part of what we are referring to, that 2% allocation for R&D. So you may realize you may have a literal allocation, but in terms of expenditure, which ideally was not allocated directly through an allocation line to support, in terms of at least 2% allocation, but you have spent, you realize you have actually spent. And in fact, when you do the numbers, you realize you could actually have complied in a very big way. So what we are saying is that because we come from a point where allocation of 2% have been having challenges, as we report for this third quarter, talk with finance and ask them to segregate for you all areas where we have spent your money. For example, you have a R&D department or directorate, all that money that goes through that direction is part of what we are talking about. Those equipment that you're buying, those projects that you're running and all that, and we may realize actually you are meeting it. But moving forward, again, we are saying we should demonstrate it to be a demonstration of an actual allocation. And when you spend more on the same, then of course that becomes better for you. Poor and unsteady funding has been an issue across government. Inadequate infrastructure to some of us. And again, in terms of infrastructure, it's an area we are reporting on. And I know the Director General, NACOST, Professor Otoya, will be taking us through on how we can capitalize on existing infrastructure within our peers, within other universities, within TVET. Yesterday we had TVET, and we realized you had the president pronouncement in terms of the money that is being allocated to TVET. Most of them, and I know that data will be shared with you, most of them are very high level equipment. How can you optimize that by sharing this equipment and all that? That is a discussion I know that will be taken through in some presentation later. And I know it's very encouraging, and we'll find that we can have a value proposition how do we map the existing infrastructures, equipment and such, so that we can be able to share and can be used to support matters, research, science, technology, innovation across our MDAs. Basically, those are some of the main issues. What are some of the strengths? Some of the gains since implementation from 18 cycle to 20 cycle, that is 2023, 2024 PC cycle where we are. Formation of the committees I've talked about is critical. It has really helped. Continuous capacity building, deepening of STI Ministreaming in our mandate. Again, you have realized that the indicator is within our mandate when we undertake these activities. When we have key document, when we have key development document like MTP4 that speaks highly about science, technology, and innovation. When you have Vision 2030, having RSTI as an enabler, and now we have the last MTP4 to actualize Vision 2030, and there is serious emphasis, and most of you have followed the development of MTP4, remember, from the concept note that came from Treasury. In fact, matters, research, science, technology, innovation were given a lot of emphasis. So we believe, and again, the actualization of the big four, I mean the beta, the 5 pillars of beta, which are being actualized through MTP4. So you can see there's a lot of effort, and MTP4 again has been mainstreamed to us, to our strategic plans again, through the 5th generation guidelines. So you can see there is a lot of effort in that direction. So key point for effective implementation, we need to ensure effective response feedback. Once you get your feedback from NACOS, the feedback you are getting from internal process owners, we work around it. Ensure the report analysis, and we ensure compliance with guidelines and such. So basically out of this is we are ending up with strengthening the STI mainstreaming steering committees. We emphasize again, these committees are very critical. Please ensure that you have an appointment letter. Ensure that formally you are able to meet and canvass matters STI mainstreaming. Simplified reporting processes will be taken through that, and will be able to appreciate the process. So engagement of MDAs constructively and positively, of course, to address emerging issues. You realize that the process is very dynamic. Like now we have MTP4 that is very clear, that has pronounced certain matters very clearly. So again, how do we capture these matters? How do we capture the emerging issues so that they become part and parcel of addressing and making better our processes? So basically, that is critical. NACOST has all been able to address concerns raised by MDAs, and today is such a good forum whereby in case there are any concerns that probably inhibit smooth implementation of this indicator, please let us share so that we can get some corrective action and we'll be able to address such. Basically, main issues for consideration as we walk the journey. We have already walked like 2 years of this journey. Then the best thing is, of course, to simply ensure that like MTP4, the document like MTP4, our strategic plans, our PCs, the actualization and what is expected in terms of implementation of better, the 5 pillars, then we put all these matters together so that we have an effective implementation. Of course, STI is a sector priority, and this has been demonstrated by what has been documented, like in MTP4, like when you're dealing with actualization of MTP4, when you're actualizing better, some of the pillars specifically speak to STI mainstreaming or matters research, science, technology, innovation, and that is very, very critical. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude my presentation, I can't conclude without just sharing with you how the journey has been. If you look at the time we started implementation of this indicator up to now, numbers have always been growing, and we expect 2023, 2024 that the numbers will be better, will be bigger, and will be able basically to start now evaluating the impact of the indicator among ourselves. What impact are we drawing out of this? Of course, it is very clear when we actualize matters, research, science, technology, innovation, the impact is very clear. Research solutions will be there for us, innovations and all that. And as a country, we'll be able to actualize the aspiration, the main aspiration of MTP4 and Vision 2030. As I conclude, there is a great improvement on total numbers of MDAs. I think I've been able to share that. And of course, we have so many other MDAs who are joining us. And even now, like this quarter, as I said, we're having new focal person and champions who are coming on board for new institutions that are coming on board. And that's a positive step in terms of implementation of this indicator. And with that, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me. Basically, this was meant to help us see the bigger picture in terms of when we talk about STI mainstreaming, basically, what do we talk about? How do we mainstream in the midst of many other dynamics that are within us? And that helps us. Basically, we bring performance contracting in picture. We look at MTP4, we look at our own strategic plans, we look at the various, our core mandates within the specified objectives, and that helps us to appreciate how and the best practice in terms of implementation. With that, I want to end, and I want to request that in case you have any question or clarification for now, please, you can use chat, you can use question and answer, bring them up there. We shall be able to respond, but at a particular point, we shall have an open session whereby you can be able to put your questions across, and you shall be able to get clarification. Thank you so much for participating in this. I wish you a very lovely and an effective and efficient remaining presentations that will be able to strengthen our understanding of research, science, technology, innovation. And with that, I want to take it back to the chair. Dr. Gige, you can hear me?
Yes, Javan. hear
Thank you,
clearly.
thank you.
Again, thank you so much, Javan, for that very elaborate and articulate breakdown of the indicator itself, the requirements in there, and the role of each of us in this. Again, as I was said earlier, we are agreeing is a national agenda. Each and every one of us is invited to play their role. Thank you for articulating that, Javan. I think in the interest of time, and as you have proposed, we want to invite our colleagues to take good use of the webinar chat, the Q&A section as well, so that we can be able to capture as much as of your comments, your issues, your suggestion, and your questions. That toward the end of this presentation, we can have an open forum to discuss this. Because it is important for us to walk this journey together. So if with your permission, you would agree we move that way, that we record your comments in there, record your chats. Towards the end, we will allow you an open forum for you to shoot, direct your question. Allow us to move to the next presentation that will just directly feed into what our resource person Javan has elaborately indicated, and what I would wish to take you through in a very brief manner.
Greetings, Dr. Ngigi.
Sorry, Dennis.
This is Yagon. Did you want to present before you?
Oh, thank you so much. I think that then we can take that opportunity and advantage of this moment, colleagues, to have the Director General Nakosti present at this point, because of the interest and our programs, how it looks like. Then the subsequent presentation follows. So I think if the DG is set, Dennis, you can enable the DG to have his presentation on.
Good morning, David.
Thank you, Professor, and welcome for this session.
Yes,
and again, today we are having our most critical, important segment in terms of our research and STI sector. We deal with the universities and the research institutions. But again, we have also given opportunity for any other representative from across the other sector to join in. So, Professor, I want to invite you to speak to your people, because this is where the matters STI mainstreaming is domicile. These are the engine, and we want to thank you them for the having time for us this morning. So, Director General, you can take the floor. You can be able to see your screen. You have the floor to take us through the bigger picture of this indicator.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Yes, our distinguished colleagues, participants from the research institutes and universities, good morning. And once more, this is an opportunity for us to just highlight what is happening in what we are calling the science, technology, and innovation system. I've been presenting the slides for quite a while, and hoping that most of you have seen the slides. I think I'll try to skip a number, maybe to pick on just some to highlight on, and some few other slides, additional slides, and then go at the very end just to share with you. Maybe I don't know whether we shared it the last time, but to share the data that we have. And that data, most importantly, needs validation, very important data, which we are pleased to inform that we were able to use that data to provide it to the WIPO that feeds into the Global Innovation Index rankings. So this is one of the reasons we are told you that what we are doing is extremely important. It is not just a target for the sake of a target. It's not just getting data and you score marks, and Nacosti also scores a tick on the requirements of our PC targets, but it has direct impact on what is happening now in the country. The title has always been leveraging on science, technology, innovation, financial prosperity, and public good. The security angle is always there, but I will not emphasize on that. I will jump quite a number, and of course, the obvious one, which you always say, that globally matters of science, technology, and innovation has been escalated, including now in our own very own country, where matters have also been escalated, especially when you look at what His Excellency the President is pronouncing and is doing almost every other day. If you keep track of what is happening both globally and locally, you will see that there's a very clear, definite direction that matters of science, technology, and innovation is taking. And I'm just showing you this slide, I think, the other time, where our neighbor also is strongly competing with Kenya. I think they're still way back, but if we remain where we are, they'll definitely catch up. And a recent one that I picked up was, this is March. This is just actually this March. This is 2-3 weeks ago, where it's captured, and you can Google these things. These are not created or just picked, where His Excellency President Museveni lays foundation for Science, Technology, and Innovation Center. This again depicts the seriousness with which the heads of state within the East African region have picked up matters of science. And you can see I've just picked the statement. This is 2-3 weeks, I think. Yeah, President Yoweri Museveni has said no one will cut the operating budget of the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. We presented in the past that Uganda decided at the highest level to separate, I think, the ministry that was hosting matter of science, technology into a dependent ministry. They allocated a lot of money. I think there have been political attempts to take down that money, but he has himself reinforced. The question I put to all of us, especially those of us from the universities and such institutions who have a very strong voice, how would we position ourselves in such a way that at the very top, you are defended at the very top? So that when you're looking for the 2% of the GDP, the word comes from the top that this should not be touched, because there'll always be competing interests, there'll always be politics. And this is where we really, really re-emphasize on what we're calling the science, technology, and innovation diplomacy. How do we convert ourselves to the language that is heard by our parliamentarians, is heard by our ministers, and it goes right up to the top, to the number one of the country. This is now happening where you see the president himself is defending. And once he says his word is a decree, nobody will oppose it. But the statement which I love on what he said just 2-3 weeks ago is that last paragraph. He says the government cannot make such a mistake because Uganda currently needs science and innovation more than before to achieve the desired SARS-led economic transformation. So even as the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, MT4 program, was launched by His Excellency, our president, last week, this is what we need to think. How do we position ourselves? Things are tough, indeed, as you're seeing. And it's global. It's global, it's regional, it is local. But you cannot just sit there and say that, oh, things are tough. What are we able to do? Because even Uganda are going through the same kind of scenario. But you can see the allocations of science, technology, innovation is seen to be the game changer. So I'm putting to us that when you do your strategy, and I could see I don't know if the next presentation is about the strategy or it has been done, what you capture there in your strategy is how your VC, is how your CEO, your DG will invest resources. So if you are saying you are going to do your mandate, you're going, like now for research institutions, you want money for research, or you want money for now upscaling to commercialization, you need to put it in your strategy. And of course, you are committing. So you might not have enough resources, but it will give you a leeway. So having said that, also, this is again, just last year, November, we are in March. So about five months ago, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has okayed an annual allocation of Uganda shillings 500 billion. This is what he allocated, I think, 15 billion in 2021, 2022. Other ministers have been complaining. He has stood his ground, and you can see that amounts to about Kenya shillings 7.8 billion as of March. I'm using the exchange rates, recent exchange rates. So imagine that money was allocated to us as Kenyans. Of course, it's supposed to be distributed. A good component to research institutes, another very good component to universities, and then the third component to TVET institutions. That is how the proposed changes to the STI Act, where the National Research Fund has been told to create a framework to allocate the monies that they will have into three components: one to universities, the other one to research institutions, and the other to veterinary institutions. My question to us, ladies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, do you have the capacity to absorb that? Because the biggest challenge, I'm told, I was not an acoustic then, some years back, that I think the government had allocated either 2 or 3 billion for national research fund, but it could not be absorbed. And that money was taken, it was not taken back. It was just taken to another demanding issue. So if today, ask yourself the question that you are told there's some billions allocated for research, and you come from University X or Y, and you're told, okay, we have decided you, University X, you're going to help us in food security, this is the money you have. Are you able to make progress? Or that money will be recalled? Because this is not just going to be research for research, where we get published, we get promoted, and that is all. This is going to be something that we're given the money, and it must show on the other end. Wajiko must feel it. This is the condition of this 17.8 billion, where I'm told, and I must have mentioned that the top researchers and Professor Makerere are scared to get the money, because it's not a typical one. When you commit that you're going to come up with a ventilator, when you commit you're going to solve Kenya's climate change or food security issues, you must deliver. So you must be at the tail end of your research, where you have done the basic, you've gone ahead, because this, you want to impact the people. You can see us gone ahead on the other statement. President Museveni also permitted tax exemption for products from local innovators who are just entering the market. So probably it is us who have not come together to air our voice in a language, not just airing our voice, but in a language that is hard. And to this one, I say, ladies and gentlemen, we are very weak on communication. Both us, Nakosti, yourselves, we might not agree, but you're very, because we say that we want money. And when you ask why do you want the money, it's all right. Yes. And what do you mean it's all right? Yeah, research is very important. I don't think, in my experience I've had in the university sector, and I've been at CUE, I have been now at multimedia, now I'm at Nakosti, I've seen the decision makers have their own language. Just like the professional bodies, they have their own language. So if you do not get to the language of decision makers, we'll keep on hammering this. The 2% is in the act. But those of you who have had the treasury, they will tell you, somebody was told, it is easier for you to ask for that part to be removed than to get the money. Because they say the simple thing, we are not seeing it. Even if you are given the 2%, with the little that you have, nothing has come. So I've stressed on that important thing, because I think we're on the verge of a takeoff, despite the challenges, but you have to position ourselves, one, in a multi-sectoral, multifaceted approach. And this is what we are really pleading, especially with the research institutions. It came out when we were presenting to the Parliamentary Committee on GMOs. You could see what Calro, a top institution on matters food and agriculture, was presenting, was not what intersecting with what KEMRI, I think this is our best research institution, was saying. It's like the researchers at Calro did not know what the researchers at KEMRI were doing, and the researchers at KEMRI did not know what the researchers at ILRI were doing, the others, ISIPE, were doing. Nobody knows. Everybody, they are in their own cocoons. We can almost be certain when we work individually or in silo, you can only go as much. But when we want to impact on the people who make decisions, we have to go collectively. Because numbers, it's not only the numbers, but also the diversity of the numbers. So having said that, very quickly, I think this one has been there, that matters of STI are well anchored in the Constitution. I've talked of the key statements that His Excellency have said, and you can see it's very, very similar to what President Museveni was saying, where that this is the time for science and technology and innovation. We cannot make a mistake of going back. And the President has said the same thing. We are an age of science, technology, and innovation. So I will not emphasize on that. I've seen he really emphasized the last Madaraka Day, which I also presented. Allow me just to repeat it. To this end, President Ruto said he is betting on the use of technology in deepening trust and strengthening public confidence in the government. If we were told, maybe senior officers came and told me, how do we write on that statement? Can you write a document which will be pleasing and acceptable to the president and his advisors, which will impact that he says, okay, we have heard him talk so much of ICT. Yes. Why ICT alone? Why not these other things that the universities are doing? It's because the team of ICT packaged their product and were able to put themselves that they are the game changer. Yes. So even food security is a game changer. We're praying for Calro to be there. Matters health is a top priority. Yeah, we're hoping KEMRI will be there. Now we're talking about the elements of national security, which are impacting. So the language. I'm just shouting, we have a lot. We have top scientists in this country. Some are working with top organizations at the UN and so forth. How do we package ourselves into this? So you have made some key statements, including on national security. Yeah, this is another one. Maybe this is the one I'd not shared before, but this is was for the Tibet sector. It's Tibet sector, again, a Tibet sector. Yes, and this is the other question. David, Dr. Ngige, I hope I'm still audible, so that I'm not speaking to myself. Hello, David?
Yes, you're still audible.
Oh, okay, good, yeah. So don't allow me to speak to myself for 30 minutes. Yes, this I found interesting. This was meant for the Tibet engagement we had yesterday, and it was very, very interesting, very interesting. But this is the day before yesterday, if I'm not wrong, March 26th, the day before yesterday, President William Ruto has announced a shillings 13 billion funding from China for the acquisition of learning equipment for Tibets. I think you must be feeling something, asking the same question. Why not the universities? Why not why not the research institutions? And we have 21 research institutions. And the numbers are increasing. And maybe I can inform for those of you in the research institutions, one is to thank you, I think, for putting us on the map, especially those of you who are ranked by Shimago. Number two, I think Waziri is just about to gazette another 12 research institutions, giving a total number of 30. We have had quite a number of applications which are processing. So the numbers of research institutions are coming. And therefore, we need to figure out how to impact on the sector. But now the question is 13 billion. Some of this equipment you might find are much, much superior to what we have in our universities. So my thinking, and I could be wrong, rather than go in a way as if we have a minimum demand that, oh, we deserve this, why don't we change our language? Why don't we find out why Tibet were able to position themselves that they're the game changer in this country? Because they can't do it alone. That's also for sure. They can't do it alone. There's only a level that they can do. There's a level which universities can do, like in the basic or initial applied research. So how come this is starting? I think it could be a soft loan or something, but 13 billion. And then you go to a top universities and check, like where some of us, we are alumni, you find the equipment that I was taught with how many years ago? That was over 20 years ago. It's the same equipment which master students are still using, and so forth and so forth. That's a question that we need to ask ourselves. Yes, rather than sitting somewhere and complaining. How do we position ourselves? How do we communicate? How do we become diplomatic in asserting our space? And most importantly, how do we do this together so that TVS do not go alone, research institutions do not go alone, and then universities do not go alone? So thank you for that. A recent happening, I've also shared this before, that for the first time, His Excellency established a Presidential Advisory Council on Science and Technology. We're waiting for appointments of the eminent person. But something he did also, I think 2 to 3 weeks ago, I think 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, notification of presidential action on the 8th of March. I believe this is the first time, I've never heard of this before, but His Excellency the President nominated a special envoy on technology. Why technology? And this is where the research institutions and the universities excel. If you position yourself to engage this special envoy once confirmed, and if we call the universities, if we call NACOSTIS, if we call NRF, if we call Kenya, what will we say as one common approach? Will NACOSTIS go with this approach? Will NRF go with this approach? Will universities go with the approach to the VCs committee, because they are also very active? Will research institutions normally they are quiet, they don't have a common front, but we encourage them to have a common front. So if this person now calls and says, I want to hear from the sector, what will we take to this person? Because this could be the closest voice to the presidency to put our case. And this person, I think, nominated, if you Google, is quite involved with the UN Secretary General's instruments or activities. So how do you position yourself? You have a position for Presidential Advisory Council, Science and Technology. I don't think we have come together to try and advise on how this might operate. Probably it's benchmarked with the one in the US, because in the US there's a similar one, in Japan there's a similar one, in Korea there's a similar one, probably in China, I'm not so sure. But we have not positioned ourselves to get, and universities, you're finding that at this particular point in time, the Module 2 might not be working effectively. Yeah, the game changer is in grants applications. and or getting money, like one institution, one of the universities, which got 7 billion from the US aid. Yes, imagine you got that 7 billion just out of a team of 2-3 people sitting together. So the direction, the line of work, I think needs to change. Something which is an amendment which I think was discussed and universities were strongly represented some weeks back at Kenya Institute of Special Education. There was a public engagement on the proposed revision of the STI Act. Yes, so this was presented yesterday to TVET, but I also want to say actually relating to research institutions and universities. The Principal Act, this is the proposal which I think has passed and is going to maybe cabinet, the parliament, and so forth and so forth. The Principal Act is amended in section 33 by inserting the following new subsection immediately after subsection 2. The Board of Trustees of the National Research Fund shall develop a framework for equitable distribution of the 2% contemplated under section 32A of the Act between universities, TVETs, and other research institutions. During the COVID, a question came up, and I think this was, if there are participants from KEMRI, maybe they're aware, a question came up that how could KEMRI or CALRO or even KIRDE impact to alleviate the sufferings of COVID-19 pandemic? And what came out is that the funds from the sector to these our top institutions is very minimal. In fact, if you look at, I think the data that we're getting from KEMRI is like they get, and I don't know whether I'm close, they're getting maybe 2 billion from the exchequer, mainly for administrative actions, and then they're getting almost like 4 billion from external parties. And this could be a point of discussion. Yeah, it's very good to get that external funding. CALRO the same. They could be getting maybe 1.5 billion from the exchequer and another 3 billion from external parties. Very good. But the other thing, you are donor dominated. Yeah, whoever pays you will call the shots. So what we are asking is how can our institutions do the agenda of the country when the external parties are funding them more than government? And I think that is what has informed this change. But the question is this: even if that part of that 2% of GDP is a lot of money, maybe over 300 billion, if you know the GDP of Kenya, it's a lot of money. So that is too much. You cannot even absorb. But what will be given, like if you are given like what is in Uganda, 17 billion or maybe 20 billion or 30 billion, let's say 30 billion, and it's shared 10 billion for the universities, 10 billion for research institutions, and 10 billion for TVET. Have you, as the STF focal persons and champions, alerted your institution on how you can occupy the space? Because the institutions that will be ahead, it will not be sharing equally. Yes, I don't think it will be justifying how you will impact on the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Are we ready for that? So I'm really pleading that as you do your strategy, these are some of the things that you can capture there. That we already have a plan, that the moment that 1 billion comes to our institution, it goes this way, and there's a very clear definition that there must be a product or a service that impact on Kenyans at the end. Without that, if you say we are doing research, you know research, we do not know the findings, we'll tell you, and nobody will be interested in that, no politician. Somebody wants that you have a feel that even as I'm going to research, we are likely to get this. But if you say we don't know, what are you expecting? You see, the research will tell us, that one you'll go for the other little monies. But the big monies given are for something which is going to impact. Like when the issue of having a new pioneer came, there was no chance for failure. Of course, things happened at the end. But the team which were there, they knew the consequences of failure would be very bad, would be tragic. So they're investing in you. So that is the kind of thinking that we need. But that is coming. Hopefully it will pass. Maybe even if you don't get the 2%, there'll be some money allocated. I've seen in what was approved last week, the government is also trying to attract or incentivize the private sector. Are we ready, distinguished participants, for this? The lead will be you, the STI focal persons. Yes, STI focal persons, STI champions, and there's a lot of support for this. All the ministries now on board, and we're very happy. The Ministry of Defense, all of them are on board. Yes, some are not sure whether they are in STI mainstreaming. All of them are on board, and all of them are ensuring that all the state corporations are implementing in this. We are very happy the National Treasury is also bringing on board the counties. Yes, it will be part of their strategy to ensure that all the 47 countries come on board. Distinguished participants again, how are the universities positioned to engage with these counties? Because they'll be coming to engage. They might not have the capacity, even human capacity, to do the kind of work they do. They might have some financial capability muscle, but no resource persons. How are universities and research institutes positioned based on your location? Like KEMRI is almost in all counties. CALRO, I'm a board member of CALRO. I know they're everywhere. In some counties, about 3-4 CALRO centers. how is Calro Center's position to engage with the county governments there? Yes, because they're coming on board. And they won't come alone. They will need people to work with. And we are insisting they must work with research experts from universities, research institutions, and from the industry in what I think some of you are aware they call the quintuple helix approach. It goes beyond the triple helix now, where the civil society must be involved. So I'm emphasizing on that. Last week, there was a launch of that. Again, I'm pleading with you, help your institutions to read through this, pick what involves you. Pick what involves you, put that in the training, because this is what is going to inform government decisions, government allocations in the next 4 years. Yes, and this was launched on Thursday, last week by His Excellency the President. They have now condensed it into 5 sectors. Because I know sometimes we Kenyans, we are weak in reading documents, but at least the way you see those who believe in the Bible read, or those who believe in the Quran read it, they even can memorize the verses. Sometimes you might find yourself ahead just by finding what is captured as the government's blueprint. Many times you find people don't know. You might even have seen agencies where even they have never read the act that establishes them. You ask them, what is your functions? How many functions do you have? They are not aware. They are not aware. Yeah, they are maybe following what was there before, some 10, 20, before the Constitution. But here, STI is cost-cutting, but it's wholly based in the social sector. If you look at that number 3, it is based there. I will skip on that one. And then the document at the 2.3, you can download it. I think it's available. It's circulating all over. It says the Kenya Vision 2030 recognizes the role of science, technology, and innovation in a modern economy. The keywords, what I'm worried about is the keywords in the sector. There's a little bit of confusion. Before the Constitution, the keyword was research. But after the Constitution, the keywords are science and technology. And this is simply because technology, science, innovation are at the end, but they are being fed by research. So the moment you talk about STI, you are literally talking about research as a subcomponent, a key one. It is the water that feeds that tree. So it is captured there, and there are issues, there are aspects, activities that are listed there. I'll go straight away to what we saw as NACOSTI. I've been given quite some tasks, which, again, I'm really pleading that you might figure out how you can occupy that space. Under the STI matters, there's human capital development. One of them is STEM, which we are encouraging it to be called STEAM, because scientists, social scientists are key to what the other scientists do. And that's why the COVID pandemic, it was not so easy to persuade people just to take the vaccine like that. We needed a good team of social scientists. The other scientists are like physicists, chemists, biologists, engineers, and so forth. You say it as it is. This is medicine, swallow. Swallow or die. If you don't swallow, you'll die. But social scientists will know how to use the diplomatic, nice words, convince somebody that this thing is there. And I'm saying this because of there's a lot of mistrust on science in the wake of COVID, and we have to change that narrative. So this is in MTP4. This is in MTP4. Then the science, technology, innovation funding. This will be led by NRF. And you can see at the number 1 at the end, they're saying coordinating research, of course, coordinating research across sectors. That is NACOSTI. And this is what we need not confuse. Coordinating, regulating research, I think that's the mandate given to NACOSTI. But strengthening the research portfolio of the National Research Fund is increasing the amount of money they have so that they can disburse. So the ours is to disburse, not to regulate. And I think that debate was there at the ministry, I think yesterday, in terms of overlapping roles. There are no overlapping roles between NACOSTI and NRF. The challenge is sometimes agencies pick up the functions of NACOSTI, but the functions are very delineated. So that was, I think, discussed, I think, yesterday, right, in a meeting chaired by the PS, and it was very clear we have different roles. We coordinate research, we regulate research, and that's why the National Focal Point on a number of activities. Our sister agencies is very good in getting the money and disbursing it, based on the advice, again, from NACOSTI in terms of priorities. So this is one of the things we will be jointly coming to you with Kenya, with the NRF, just to communicate that we are distinct entities with distinct mandates. Nanosciences, that is research. That's your area. You go to technology, innovation, commercialization. This will be led by Kenya National Innovation Agency. And you can see the kind of projects they're talking about. The CUT is mentioned here. I guess those of you who are not coming from the CUT might be worried, but it's just because they showed a lot of enthusiasm. But this is for everybody. If you come up with your science and technology parks, I think the government and the system will be able to see you. So these two, the CUT and Konza Technopolis, are like leading now. So that's why they're mentioned in the document, but it doesn't stop others. But there's another one. There's establishing a national center for innovation, technology transfer, and commercialization. Commercialization has been the weak link, and the tragedy is we want to commercialize before patenting our product. So it's almost like you don't have any product. Then about technology, where our sister agency, National Biosafety Authority, is taking the lead. So find out, how do you get into these programs? Yeah. How does your university or your research institutions get into these matters about technology, matters of nanosciences, matters of technology commercialization? And this has to be done in a whole of government approach. So even if University A or research institution B or NACOSTI A, you go to NRF alone, or you go to Kenya alone, I think there'll still be a requirement that who are your partners? And are they diverse? Are your partners, if you're from the university, you want your partners or request for your partners be from the universities, from research institutions, from the counties, and so forth. If you're from our research institutions, we'll ask who are your partners from universities, who are your partners from TVET institutions, who are partners from the counties. So the space science technology, I have no time, I'm just rushing, but there's a lot of things like telemedicine. Then there's county technology innovation. The project aims to catalyze STI delivery at the counties. NACOSTI has been put to support this program, I think, with NRF. And on that, I'll just go very quickly to things. As you do your strategy, I would plead with you, try and capture much of this, because it is easier to convince when you're asking for allocation. So the number one, where you can see there's the State Department for Higher Education, there's a lead column. The second last column is lead. Then the supporting agencies. Like you can see for KAIST, and this guys, I always remain excited because we initiated this program at Multimedia University. And if there are some of you from Multimedia, you are aware the background of this. So it's a great joy for us that this program was escalated to a national level. Constructions are going on. It's a 13 billion project, yes, funded by Korea government and Kenya government. And the key supporting agency is Konza Technopolis. It doesn't stop collaborations by the research institutes with KAIST. Yes, it doesn't stop collaborations by universities with KAIST. Now, where NACOSTI has been given a strong role to support the State Department for Education, one is in the Institute of Applied Sciences established in an existing university. Universities, that's for you. So how do you align your strategy to capture that? There are some people, I think there's some universities who are already working on that. Then capacity of 7 universities and 2 research institutes strengthened to be centers of excellence. Distinguished colleagues, have you positioned yourself for that? So that if you have not, please go back to your team, your DVC, your VCs, but they're saying 7 universities. We do not know which 7. 2 research institutes. We do not know which ones. Yes, strengthened to be centers of excellence. Will it be Kiridi? Will it be Calro? Will it be National Museums of Kenya? Nobody knows. It is how you position yourself for that pickup. So are you able to figure out how you can include that in your strategy? Yes, so once you include it, even the CEO will keep on being reminded that, we committed to enhance our activities to fit the bill that is captured in that MTP4. Then 10 universities supported under HEST, I think there's 2 programs. This is an ongoing program, 10 universities. Which are those 10 universities? That's the next 4 years. Then a database on national STI human resource capacity and skills established. I think NACOST is doing that with the kind of data you're giving. And that's why now you see the value that we are not just collecting data for the sake of data. And it's not data just, I know one of our agencies is collecting data for research. That is very good. But for us now, I think you're given that mandate to collect the broader data for research, for scientists, for those doing technology, for innovation. And we cut across right from primary to universities and beyond universities, if there's something beyond, up to actually the industries and so forth. That is captured, and NACOSTI and NRF will be supporting the State Department. The National Critical Skills Development Strategy formulated. Which of the institutions, research institutions and universities, can sit in that national committee which will be coming? Kenya node of the National Science Technology Innovation Observatory. And again, this one, I think NACOSTI with the ministry will be working. Observatory is not a telescope observing into the skies, but it's more of a data, digital base, where you can get any information in terms of human resource, in terms of the products that Kenya has, in terms of ongoing researches, yes, based on, of course, within the provisions of the Data Protection Act. Another one is research across sectors conducted, where NACOSTI and DRST under the State Department for Education is captured. I've just highlighted that in that pink color. Yes, so research across sectors conducted. We need to have data and which you're already giving. So it's part of that one. And I'm also going what the cost is given. Space science technology. And they're saying to enhance teaching, research, and development of space science technology. As of now, I only think University of Nairobi is working with the Kenya Space Agency. But what about the rest of you? Yes, and you can see this is going to be here now. Of course, is a joint lead. You can see there's MOD is Ministry of Defense. That's second last column. Then State Department for Education. Then NACOSTI. Again, Ministry of Defense. Yes. So I'm just asking. I'm getting a phone call, so I'll have to conclude first now. But this is there. I don't have to read it, ladies and gentlemen. Please read. Pick up this and the others which have not even captured there, which concern you, like what they're saying, natural products, yes, and they say development partners. You are there. So there's a lot that fits into a bill. There's county technology and innovation offices. I'm seeing Minister of Defense, State Department for Education, NACOST is there. I'm seeing the Innovation Bank of Kenya established. I do not know what that Innovation Bank is. Yes, but I'm seeing we have been placed there to support. Yes, National Museums of Kenya, University of Nairobi, NEMA, NACOSTI, and KIPI. So please check that program. Otherwise, I think we are doing well. I'll just keep a number of this. And very soon, we'll put out a call due to demand. We have been requested this with a number of sectors. When are we having the in-person trainings? We have 8 modules. We have delayed a little bit. But as I said, they're not compulsory. It depends on whether you have an interest. Module number 1 is 5-day training on STI mainstreaming in MDS, and you'll get certificates which you can use. So it's up to you whether the cost will be modest, just like the normal trainings. This is not meant to generate any money. It's literally break even because it is not the NACOSTI staff who will be training. Most of you will be part of this training resource person. So we'll put that call. I would give me just a minute. Just inform an urgent matter here. Yes, thank you. I think those are urgent ones. So co-agency STI ecosystems are presented this, and this is what I emphasize. The 3 agencies there established a very different role. The challenge sometimes we have is sometimes we become overpassionate. Like as NACOSTI, we might end up start talking as if we are Kenya or as NRF, or NRF will go out there and talk as if they are NACOSTI. Yeah, or Kenya will go there and talk as if they are NRF, but the roles are very clear, and we are going to organize ourselves so that when we come to you, because we are getting the situation where some of the agencies are also getting almost the same similar data that we're asking for, and I think the ministry will sort of that. These are the teething problems that come when a good thing comes on the ground. So we'll sort out that. Our functions are 17, very, very powerful, and as I'm saying now, in line with our first function, the board has approved, and it's on our website, the STI Science, Technology, Innovation Priorities. So this is official, is formal, it is moving on, I think, following a relevant consultation. I wanted just to highlight 2 things. In fact, one or two. One is we are well known for 2 key activities. That is licensing research and registration of research institutions. And that's why we have today is a day for research institutions and universities. But number 2, we also the national focal point for a number of Kenya's international publications. These things are beneficial. And I know a number of universities who have benefited significantly. And when we get opportunities, we circulate. And that's why we are praying that the STI focal points, your role can be elevated, because sometimes through you, a university will get something which is very powerful. I would talk like number 3, AFRA. Yes, even now there is a training at KU, which is being closed for about 21 international participants, because Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Authority was designated as a regional designated center on a postgraduate training on matters radiation and so forth and so forth. There have been 20 students at KU. I'm just being called now we are supposed to close that session in the next 1 hour. This is a significant benefit. KNRA has involved, I think, 3-4 universities, multimedia universities, UON, KU, and I think 1 more. And that is the kind of thing we're asking for. It's a very successful program, and there are other programs coming in May. On number one, not number one, BWC, we have been going a number of institutions to Geneva, and there are other programs which have come. ICGB, Egerton University has been designated as a regional research center. Even Treasury has allocated money, which actually was wired. I'm happy, even as the external partner is coming on board. So we are not just coordinating STI mainstream for the sake of doing it. It's a two-way traffic. We get information for the sake of the country, but you also benefit with opportunities that come. Please make use of them. This is a meeting which was from the European Working Group on Higher Education. Why do we undertake this meeting? So that we are able to get opportunities that are there for you and me. Please make maximum use of it. And I'll quickly, this is now the nuclear program. And this was a meeting that recognized the role of Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Authority as a regional designated center to host a special regional postgraduate training in education and training. It has gone on. We are closing it today. That's a benefit, a critical benefit, fully funded. The resource persons, both of them from Kenya, were funded. The students were funded. So this, when they come, please make sure. And AFRA, I think there are a number of institutions that have discovered it, are flying in and out to Vienna, to South Africa, to so forth. Because when we get this request, even in the middle of the night, as NACOS team, myself and my colleagues, we will approve them. They go there. We are also now the focal point, I think, based on the kind of work we're doing. Our CS designated as a focal point for Horizon Europe programs. We are still waiting for a game-changing one consortia project where Honorable Minister can give a covering letter. I know a number of you are applying directly, and we wish you well. Yes? But if we could get one big consortia, which has everybody, TVET, universities, research institutions, the industry, county government, focusing on maybe like climate change, which is one of the themes, we would get it and have a letter written to Horizon Europe that this is a special government project. One or two. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. We also have open for Erasmus programs, and I think next month, in April, I think Dr. Ngigu will mention it, 20-something. We're having an awareness for the Kenyan sector. Yeah, supported all the way from, I think, from Europe. And Erasmus has so many opportunities. Some are small, some are big, some are medium, exchanges and so forth. Please make use of it, engage us on the same. Coming back to the other aspect where we register and accredit research institutions, right now the 21, the minister has approved the government of another 12. We have a number of applications. So the sector is expanding. And we hope we'll be able to strongly collaborate. But the one which is of interest, again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's matters research, licensing, because of the national security, public safety angle. I know this has been quite some debate, yes, but it's now accepted. When I looked at the changes in the Act, proposed changes, there's a clause 12.2, which was causing a confusion, which was trying to grant a waiver, sort of, that certain category of people can do research without an external party monitoring. I think that is proposed to be deleted. It means the entire country is observing that even if me as I am doing research, I might not be aware, but maybe I'm making something which can be used as a bomb. So there needs to be an external party, whether it's NACOSTI or another agency, there needs to be an external party. That's an agreement. For now, it's NACOSTI. Maybe another time, another agency will come on board. But it is almost, for us, we focus on 12.3. 12.1 is waived by 12.2, but 12.3 is there. And then 15, the offenses. Yeah, any person undertaking or intending to undertake research. You can see undertaking research is one component. Then who accesses, handles, and transfers material? We were being called when the baobab tree was being transported outside the country. It was a great concern, and we did not know how to answer. Because we say, you see, there's some people are saying they have a waiver. I said, no, this is a national security matter. People are transporting baobab tree, and they're paying the locals. Yes? So the offense is that any person who accesses, handles, transfers, or moves any specified technology or any material necessary for scientific research within, into, or from Kenya without a license issued under the Act contravenes the provision of Section 12, like that 12.3 commits an offense. And the penalty is very high, dear colleagues. So you can be fined exceeding 5 million or imprisonment not exceeding 4 years or both. And the day before yesterday, some of you saw something in the newspaper because there's a lot of pressure even on us that the lives of Kenyans, the culture of Kenyans, so many things are at stake. Let me just remind you, this is the criteria for any research. Yeah, we have been limited in terms of sometimes capacity, but we are now bringing some of you on board to be our resource persons to evaluate our research. And I know we have nominees from KU, we have nominees from JKUAT, we have nominees from Kemri, I think even from Calro, and will extend, so that when we have a pool of application for research, and we have about 7,000 in a year, then we form teams of you. Yeah, so long as you have no conflict of interest, and we take you to Navasha and you sit somewhere and you evaluate. But you have to help us to demonstrate that there's need for that research licensing. It is meant to ensure that what you do, what you and me do, does not affect national security, lives of Kenyans, culture and IP rights of our communities. That's a big, big concern. Where as a researcher, I can go and take what our forefathers did, convert it into research, do the research, and claim that it's mine. And the one we have is somebody who has vast experience of and is it called anti-snake venom or yes, to fight when you're bitten by a snake, something that a concussion that will fight it. And when we ask, where did you get it from? Did you research? No, I got it from my great-great-grandfather or grandfather or whatever. But then the person has gone and patented it. By law, that IP rights belong to the community where that person is coming from. And a number of us, maybe including myself, we might have done that, research on something which is already known by a community. Maybe you're just enhanced a little bit. Those are the things that we check. The other thing is, even if you try to waive, it might not be difficult to implement the waiver of licensing, because it's part of Kenya's international obligations. So if we waive and change the act, I'm speaking particularly to universities, if we waive something in the act, Kenya has to go and withdraw from the UN, from the BWC, from the CTBTO, from OPCW, you know them. So because the act, the things in the act came from those international obligations. So I just wanted to emphasize that, because something happened, and yesterday, there was this in the news, which is circulating now, a Swiss national police guilty to bleeding athletes at the 10 court Wednesday. Now, when we're informed of this, we gave, of course, our documentation as required to the team, the security team that was investigating this. But as somebody by the name of Basil Samuel David Morelon at the 10 locals in Elgeyo Marakwet County on March 26, that was, the ruling was the day before yesterday, but the newspapers captured it yesterday, and his co-accused Geoffrey Kibet Bombok, that's a Kenyan, were allegedly found at the 10 townships in Elgeyo Marakwet County while drawing blood samples from Kenyan athletes and non-athletes without the licenses from the National Commission for Science, Technology, and Innovation. I think there's a spelling mistake there. Basil pleaded guilty. The person looked at the act and knew this one, I've done a wrong thing. The person pleaded guilty to 5 counts of offenses and was fined a total of Kenya shillings 400,000, or to go to jail for 3 years. You can see it's almost the limit of 4 years and 10 months. In fact, that's almost 4 years. The judge or the magistrate gave the near limit, while Kibet denied the offenses. So that will continue. We are still saying that on the matter, and they're still collecting evidence. We have another case where KWS has caught somebody transporting to the airports a material from I think our forests. Yes, we have, you know, the case of the baobab tree from the coast, and their number is because we have not had the capacity to go on the ground, but we are under immense pressure to do our role despite our limited resources for the sake of this country. And that, again, is the work of STI focal points. We are asking you, the STI focal points in the universities and research institutions, can you confirm in your reporting that all the researches being undertaken in your research institutes have been licensed? I would ask, especially if there's somebody from Calro, where we are also members there, are all researchers from Calro getting research licenses? Are all the researchers from Kemri getting a research license? We have institutional ethics committees that check on those research licenses. But we have found some, we call them either rogue institutional ethics committees, who, once they've evaluated a research application, does not or do not inform the applicant that you need now to go to the licenses to NACOSTI. Because the other work of NACOSTI is to monitor, which you have not done. We have now started monitoring, because this case came from the locals who got disturbed and informed the relevant authorities. As NACOSTI at the moment, we might not have the full capacity, but we are being told we are going to be given resources to go to all counties to follow up. So when we license your research, if it's at KU, we need to come and ambush you one time and just ask you, what is it you're doing? Is it in line with what was approved? Somebody will make this question. Now, the unfortunate thing of this incident, which came yesterday again from the security team, is that 2 universities, I won't mention them here, the accused person have incriminated 2 other universities. Imagine the consequence. Two, and their two leading universities are being incriminated either through their professors being quietly in the background involved in taking blood samples of Kenyans to a facility which is not even recognized, testing it. We do not know whether it's going abroad. My dear colleagues, brothers and sisters, this is serious. This is serious. And when we are mentioning that you need to be licensed, I need to be licensed, to that opposition, oh, it's given in the Constitution, it is our right, and so forth. But now look at this. Will you be safe, you and me, if people take our samples, especially in the wake of COVID, where the Africans were found to have a good resistance? So I emphasize on that. We have other powers which we have never used, which maybe you have read in the past, but one of it, we have the power to apply for the grant or revocation of patents if it affects national security. We have power to institute such action in respect of the patent as it may deem appropriate for the security of the country. We are being called and put on the carpet that why are we not implementing our role? And you are the first front who can help us implement the role. We are under a lot of pressure, I'm telling you, and it's good pressure because it's for your sake and other people's sakes. That's quite some emphasis. The other one is patenting. We are insisting that either all institutions have an IP management policies, including ministries and departments, or you get affiliated. So the few of you who already have an IP management office will be asking other institutions to affiliate with you so that nobody goes and presents their work in exhibitions before they get a patent or is protected. That is key. And on that one, just also some recent ones. These are not the old ones I showed you. This was March 16th, 2 weeks ago. Okay, revealed killer chemicals finding their way to your dinner plate. Yes, are we okay with this? We could be getting mad. Maybe your DNA is being changed. I don't know, I'm not an expert in there. Maybe your chemistry is being changed. Yeah, this is where somebody will start feeling that your gender. You know, you reach a point where you might not even know your gender, and it's because of the things we eat. Utajisikia tu, unaenda another direction. I don't know, I have no evidence, but these are some of my wild imaginations. You can also imagine, you eat these things. It's not just killing you, it might be converting you. Yes, changing things in your body. Yes, February, that was last month, 28th. Maize drying within a day. How farmers shortcuts are risking Ugali lovers' lives. Lives. And not only lives, as I'm saying, even your chemistry, your hormonal balance in your system, you and me. How sure are we? And this, following our engagement with the National Serious Board, they now know their role. Before they were saying, we're not part of STI mainstreaming. But they say, look at what we're doing. It's a public safety concern, because they're the ones who checks on those aflatoxins and so forth. Another one, that's September. Your tomato salad, sukuma wiki stew could take you to early grave, scientist. Yes. The other one, I think the other, you can just go back. This one, which is, this one was a research done by Pest Control Products Board, one of our state agencies. So they're not just data. This one is coming from, this might be just a commentary. This one is coming from an external person, Heinrich Ball, Stifum. Yes, he says Kenyans are consuming food containing residues of pesticides banned in Europe in 2007, but sold to commercial and small-scale farmers in Kenya. It's almost like what is happening in the alcohol. You've heard of the Yokozuna. There's one the other day I was told in my local area called Ruat. Yes, these are of concern because whoever is adding those chemicals is actually doing research. He's doing some quite research, a research which is not documented on paper. He's saying, suppose I add something. Suppose I add some ARV into this. How does it affect you and me? So there are serious things happening now, ladies and gentlemen. This I showed you before April. This is done by KEMRI, and I'm hoping KEMRI is part of our participants here. A recent study by KEMRI revealing the contamination of raw pork and poultry. We are in danger, ladies and gentlemen. We are in danger. So very quickly, just the data that we've been giving in the past, I think I gave it before. One, we are trying to clean this data. We'll come to you to validate. Also to confirm physically, sampling maybe not to all of you. Like when we see KEMRI says they have a medical and health, so they have an, is it Oligomeca 96? What is this? So that when another person from maybe Calro or JKUAT or UON or JOUST or Kwani University wants to use that equipment, they can click a button and know that that equipment is in KEMRI. Simply because we have professors at the UON, especially in faculty of medicine, who are applying to take their samples outside, not knowing that KEMRI now has a lot of equipment which were donated, I think, by the US. And the same, KEFRI, have the same. A number of research institutions have very, very key equipment. So I'm just seeing like this is Kefri, Kemri. I'm seeing these are the Ministry of ICT as some data center at Konza and so forth. So we are getting that data. And in terms of R&D expenditure, again, data now shows the National Cancer Institute is spending 125% of the operational budget. It means they're getting donor funding on research. So when that allocation of 2% will be allocated by NRF, this is what will provide them. There are already some people who are making some effort. Yes, add them more. There are those who have made zero effort. Yes, know what to do with them. This is data, and data's numbers never lie. So you have Calro also doing very well. You have Kenya Marine and Fisheries. You have National Museum of Kenya, Kefri, Kiridi. I hope you're all there in this meeting. If I go to the universities, the lead university is Machakos University, a young institution, which is inputting 66% of the operational budget. Know that this is not direct money. It is normalized, yes, through your operational budget. So even if you are a big institution, you must find you're spending a lot of money, but it's just a little percent of your operational budget. So you're seeing Machakos University, 66%, UON, 55%, JOUS, 25%, Egerton, 20%, KU, 11%, University of Eldoret, 9%, JKUAT. So this data is raw. Yes, to be fair, we have to go and check, but I'm just telling you how valuable this data is. It will be used to inform decision-making, whether the National Treasury, whether at your own parent ministry, whether within your own institution, we can give you the data that just belongs to you, so that even as your CEO, your VC, your DG can know that, okay, I need to invest more on this the next step. And as we said, investment in R&D includes R&D infrastructure. Yeah, you have bought a new system, computer system that does ABCD. You have an equipment like the CyberKnife at KU, Referral Hospital, and so forth. So I'm seeing these are now if I go to, yes, so I'll skip that one again very quickly. I'm almost there. Yeah, for the first time, I think we're able to get data, again, still raw, on the scientists, all the kind of researchers and scientists and scholars in this country. Even what you're calling the prior learning, what was being launched the other day. And we have divided them into the well-known system in the form of natural sciences, engineering and technology, medical and health sciences, agriculture and veterinary sciences, humanities. This is the global well-known. I know some of you might classify them differently. Maybe even the CU is, Commission for University Education is classifying them differently. But I know this is what is in the global. And I wish all of us could converge so that we can speak in the same way. This one now is of interest to the two of you. It was not of interest to TVET or the state agencies, but top institutions with the highest percent of PhDs per category. Give us the correct data. You can see in universities and university colleges, UON, as expected, being the mother of all mothers, yes, has 675 PhDs, but followed closely by JKUAT, 455 PhDs, MOI, 425. The number of PhDs is a sign of excellence. Part of the sign of excellence. Of course, other things come in, the number of patents. These PhDs, how many patents do they have? These PhDs, have they published in the Scopus journals, in addition to other journals? Because sometimes they just focus on the Scopus journals. Yes, so please give us, segregate the journals, say this, we have 20 publications in Scopus journals, then we have maybe 100 other publications in other journals, so that we also give them a score at an opportune time. So you're seeing Masida Molino with 240. The one which is interesting is the young institution like University of Eldoret. It has 215. It means a number of veteran professors shifted there. JOUS has 118. Chuka has 111, people with PhD. Yes. Seku, 103. Quite a good, Bomet, very young, still even a college, not yet fully upgraded. It's 101, Pwani, 101. So we need to confirm this. That you come to research institutions, Calro has 144. Kemri has 84. Yes, and some of the institutions have invested in these people to get PhD. We will keep on encouraging institutions to invest in you. The research institutes and universities, it might not be so critical for TVETs, but when they have, of course, it's still good. You can see like MTC has 15. It might also be not very necessary for SAGAs, but you can see National Construction Authority, NC, has 26. And for that reason, they have a well-established research, is it directorate? A powerful one. Yes, you can also see CAPS and so forth. So, dear colleagues, this is the kind of data we use it. This is overall data. You talk in terms of publications in peer-reviewed journals. Yes, we want books in all the sectors. Like now, it's like we have 650. I would also request you that the data we're requesting is not based on the quarter data or annual data, it's the entire, maybe over the last 5 to 10 years. Like patterns exist for 20 years. Yes, we want patterns for the last 20 years. Because we found one institution, I think JQuat, gave us the number of patterns for that quarter. Please, we will add something in the tables, but I'm shouting loud, please help us communicate, or when we are feeding in the data. Patterns, we want data for the last 20 years. The number of staffing we want as of now, yes, whether they employed 100 years ago or 10 years ago, 1 year ago, all the number of staff. Publications, we want all the publications you have had maybe for the last 20 years, okay? All the publications that are recognized in recognized places. Books, all for the last 20 years. IP patterns, you can see 146, but we think some gave the quota, so we want for all. And IP could be in the form of patents, trademarks, utility models, and so forth. Commercialized products, again, we want all of them, not just for the quarter, for the year. Like when you will be giving us in the next 2 weeks the data, tell us all the commercialized products since you are in existence. Tell us all the commercialized products. Maybe you can say this one's for the last 5 years, then this one's for in the last 10 years, this was 15 years. That would be helpful. If you look at this is probably the last or second last. In the am I audible, David?
Yes, Professor, we can hear you.
Okay, just adding very interesting data. I think during the upcoming trainings, in-person trainings, we'll give more of these details. For those of you who will be able to get support from institutions to pay the registration money. But we have a lot of data which we think you could share with you. And when you have this information, you'll be a really valuable person to your institutions, to your university, to your research institutions. The data we have, which again, let me repeat, is not yet verified, is not yet validated. But we want to provoke you so that when you give us data, you take it seriously, because if you give us the wrong data, we will display that wrong data. Yes, and it can have consequences at the end, especially when a decision is made based on data which is not factual. Yes, so we will try to work with you to validate. Dedan Kimathi seems to have 4 patents. Yes, UN, I think there must be either they didn't give us or something, because I know their patents. Eldoret, 4 patents. KU, 3 patents. But I think the UN is 2 patents. I suspect they gave us the patents for the quarter. We're asking for patents for the last 20 years. So please, in the next presentations, when you give us your data in the next 3 weeks, we hope this will be more realistic. Then we can engage you. Calro has 1 patent. I don't think so. I think this could be just for that particular quarter. I think there are very many patents plus plant breeders' rights, which is a form of IP. Yeah, when you go to now tertiary, it's like they understood our document very well. Sigalagala has 32 patents, and they confirmed it. Very amazing, by the way, very amazing. That is a capital which has direct impact on Wanjiku's economy, because those patents will end up being commercialized. You can't commercialize something which you don't own, and the only license that shows that you have this thing is IP rights or some other document. Kitale 23, Kisiwa 13. I don't think the TTCs have more patents than universities. Yeah, research institutes, you only have Calro. So I'm asking Cambridge, where is your data? Where is your patents for the last 20 years or since we're in existence? I'm asking Kiridi, where is your data? I'm asking Kenya Marine Fisheries, where is your data, please? Yes, because you'll be doing a disservice for this data to go up to a minister, because it's going up somewhere, or even your minister, and they see that you want to tell me my Calro or my Kenya Marine doesn't have patents. It will be a shocker. So please take some time, call our people, give us the correct data. Then if I go, so I've talked about patents. If you go the other side, you can see on the one which is titled commercialized products per institutions category. Dedan Kimathi has commercialized 3 out of the 4 patents. Masai Mara 3, but I'm not seeing them on the patent side. So they could have commercialized somebody else's work. That's our worry. Just like we are seeing on one side of patent, Cambridge is not featuring. Then on this other side, we are seeing Cambridge has 7 commercialized products. Whose products are those? Because if you don't have IP rights for them, then how did you commercialize them? It means you have not given us the correct data on the number of patents. Patents for the last 20 years or since we're in existence, commercialized products since we're in existence, so that this data can be valuable to you and make sense. Leading institutions in attracting funding from the private sector and on international partners, you can see Calro is there. 12 billion, we applaud them. With number of partners, 174, we applaud them. The interest from the Minister of Interior is to find out who are these 174 partners. Yeah, and the interest of Kenyan. So please, those of you from KALRO, inform your institution just to ensure that your partners, your partners are not like the one you have seen who is collecting blood samples and exporting. Emory, wonderful. Yeah, 1.7 billion. I think you have more. So give us the entire, whether for the last 10, 20 years that you have got, I think is a lot of money. You talk of equipment that Emory has received from like the US, we know it's a lot of money. Give us the correct data. Then you have 53 partners. The interest from the Minister of Interior. Who are these 53 partners? Because you might be gaining a lot and then find you also are losing almost double what you're getting. Who are these partners? Are they getting more? Yeah. Are there any one of them involved in transporting the baobab or whatever? I don't know. These are just the questions being asked outsiders, and we are being put under a lot of pressure. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have no more to add. I'll skip. The conclusion is the same. You are key persons. And with those remarks, allow me to invite all of you to upcoming third multi-sector conference from scheduled for 7th to 10th May. I think the letters have gone out today. You're expecting a very exciting forum. Research institutions, the 21 of you, including the ones from private, I'm pleading with you to come with your exhibitions, because after that, we will be going to do our inspections to all the 21 research institutes as required by the law. Yeah, we do not inspect universities. I think there's a Commission for University Education, but we regulate the researchers in the universities. So that's another one. It's different from research institutions who are our direct clients. The way CUE regulates universities, we regulate research institutions. CUE does not regulate research. It promotes research. If you look at the Universities Act, it's a principle of separation of duties. We regulate research from kindergarten, moving about. We are limited, but in many cases, it's peer-based. We invite you and would love to work with you. So this conference is coming. There'll be interministerial session or forum. There will be another one on what used to be called the Science Week. There'll be another one on just the discourse, the normal discourse, and then the support one. It's a 4 kind of trust kind of conference. We have international partners who have already accepted to be there. People from International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. The governing board of IAC will be in session in Nairobi for the first time, probably in Africa. A very powerful board, IAC, International Science Council. We will be recognizing some of the eminent scientists. Maybe some of you are those eminent scientists. So there's a lot which is likely to happen. Last time we brought in high schoolers. Out of maybe over 300 participants, 100 were high schoolers from Mangu, from St. Francis Girls, and so forth. We hope if you can sponsor some of them, like our research institutes, if you can sponsor some of the girls who have excelled in your science competitions, because we'll also be having an Olympiad with UNESCO. So there's a lot. Allow me not to spend more time, but we are inviting you, especially research institutions. We are pleading to see you exhibitions of what you have done. You owe the public. Yes, you might be doing it in your institution. Very good. But this will be a forum where everybody is there. If some of the ministers come or even send their representatives, they will see. Maybe your own minister will be able to see that, oh, this is what is happening at KALRO. Like we have Honorable Waziri Linturi coming there. I'm sure you'll be interested to see what KALRO is doing. We have the Minister for Health, Madam Nakumicha, hopefully will be coming, or her representative. You'd want to see what KEMRI is doing. And all of them, I think all of them will most likely send a representative. So please, do not ignore this. Make use of it. It will make even our evaluation when we come to research institutes easier, because we'll have seen some of your products being exhibited there. So thank you very much, and God bless. I have probably 2 or 3 minutes. If there's a very burning question or clarification, this is the time. And thank you for giving me the time. Back to you, David. If there are 2 or 3, I think our team will answer most of the questions, but if there are 2 or 3 burning, then let me get them.
Thank you so much, Professor Oyawa, for that insightful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, our colleagues from university and research institution, I think this is the direction we need to go. It cannot be put any better than how Director General has placed it. We all have a role. Very burning issues, perhaps in a minute or so, 2, 3, 4 questions. Would you wish to raise your hands or your comments for Director General response? Or else you can put your comments on our chat. that will put to a directed response data. But more importantly is, do we have any burning issues at the moment before he dash to the next assignment? Our team is on standby. If you can raise your hand, you'll be enabled to raise your question. But again, you still have the option of the chat and the Q&A section to raise your issue.
I'm just quickly seeing the chat. If there's any question, I'm seeing a fellow of mine, Mururi from KU. Thank you. I just informing you are there. Dr. Anne Moiru from Kirinyaga University. Thank you for being there. And I'm sure there are many of you. Dansenet Kenani, GDC. Probably you missed out on the one for state corporations, but welcome. And then Christopher, I'm seeing great informative. So any burning questions we'll be able to answer. But we're going to engage. I think at some point we'll visit university by university, research by research institutions. But for research institutions, please pass on in advance. We are calling for a meeting with the CEOs and DGs, maybe within the next 2 weeks, to have this conversation, just to prepare for what might be coming. There are things, despite the hard times, good things are coming. And you might just be ambushed, there's this money, and you do not know how to use it, and it is taken back. Back to you.
Thank you, DG. Colleagues, as you are just being informed, we are just preparing for that big conference. Again, an opportunity for you to showcase the best we're able to do. This is another forum for you, again, to raise some of the issues you may require. But if you are satisfied, we may allow the Director General to attend to the other assignment. And I will quickly dash into the next important session, because we are opening our reporting Q3 platform, that we can engage on that level. But we don't want to block anyone.
Thank you, David. I'm seeing another one, awesome presentation from the DG. The key takeaway for me is that accurate data is key. Is very key, by the way. Data is used for decision making, so help us on that. Do not over-exaggerate, because it will be detected. Yeah, there's a way of counter-checking this. Like if you finances, we go to the Auditor General's website and also make a request. Can you give us the financial statements of organization A and B? You'll be able to know if even you find your staffing is captured in that financial statement. So give us the data that we can help improve. Those who have made some progress, we can connect you to our international, like we are the focal point to a number of these obligations. That's how Egerton came into play. But it was an open competition. I think 7 universities applied, 3 shortlisted. Those were JKUAT, KU, and Egerton. And the external persons, not Acosti, decided to have that. Thank you very much. If you allow me, our team will answer the question. I'm very grateful. Please, let's make this STI mainstreaming a success. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Professor, for your time. Great. Dear colleagues, if you allow, I know now it's 20 minutes past 11. I think we can, with your permission, if this is okay, we can quickly go into the next presentation that I know will be very important for you, because immediately after this, the close of this, we're going to open our channel for online reporting for Q3 reporting. We have a discussion around the online reporting portal. That again, this is directly in response to your demand for Acosti to digitize, to simplify all these. And if this is agreeable to yourselves, I want to request my colleague, Cyrus, come out to take the floor and just take advantage of this moment as you are around in numbers to share with us what we need to go through. Again, this is a very practical session, your forum, so that you interact with our experts around that area. So Cyrus, please, if you are set, you can take the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. I think I'll do the presentation at this juncture. I want to appreciate the 50 plus attendees that we have currently to take them through the platform. and pass the mark perspective. But there have been good experiences in terms of reporting and usage of the platform. So since this is a direct practical process, we just go straight to sharing the window and begin my presentation to class. Allow me to start. So our reporting tool is still within the NACOTI website. So basically going to NACOTI, maybe for those who are doing it for the first time, although majority of research institutions and universities have been able to do that, so I'm not the challenge. But maybe for those other members who are not able to join the last 3 days, we want to take them quickly. There is 2 sheets for MDS, and you can see there is a window here. So the results of the innovation estimate for MDS, this feeling to take it to the same. So in case someone is wondering, you have to one means that you have different documentation. Depends on your ability to navigate the website. So if you prefer to use the one below the scrolling pictorial bar, or the one in the menu bar, you should be able to click and take it. So within this window, we have the preamble, eligibility, key activities. I think the only thing that I need to stress is maybe the assessment. The assessment is based on this. I know it has been taken by my previous. So that is 60. So that is to develop an implement strategy. And I know quite a big percentage, about 3/4 of the members here have already developed the implementing the strategy. So that was how we started. Then we have also developed the training work plan. Except those who have joined late to the indicator, the work plan was submitted in first quarter. So our work is to track your work plan and carry 60%. And the annual report is now on due. The key aspect is to promptly and accurately submit that quarter report. Quarter and annual report. It carries 20%. So we have the same page, quite a number of resources. Resources to do with the reporting platform, the STI work plan template, template of strategy for those who want the template for strategy guide. It's decided on how those who are reviewing strategy for STI, you can get some guide. My colleague did responsibilities and focus part of the champion. So in case you want the terms of reference for the focal person and the terms of reference for the appointment of STI champion, these documents to available. List of entities, we are aware there are some that have not been hidden and we are reporting. So we upload the list as they come on board. So it is more applications to those that are coming. Then the scores for last year, the 19 cycle, and this indicator for your research institution and university, the question of, you can download that document. So I'll go to the reporting direction. You click here to go to the reporting tool. So it takes you to this link, LTI, the teaching and reporting, okay. So this link has the same information for, but it has some additional for the key activities. What do you need before you start the testing? So these are the key documents that you need. You need the appointment letter for focal persons, appointment letter for champions, approved STI training work plan, strategies, documental evidence of the fact, development and innovation output, select your property policy, the tax policy for the institution, and a forwarding letter from the CEO of VC from the accounting officer of the institution. From there, you have also the institution. So you get your let me go to university, just research institutes. You have the ID, what you're calling the MDA ID and the MDA one. So it needs to remember this MDA ID happens to be a user ID. So the login credentials are supplied to you. So the number you have here was to log in. The same thing you go to university, they have their ID, then they have the list. They are currently at 9 within our list. So you are not having your name of the institution, university and research institution. Can I get in touch with that? So that we know you don't have a login ID thing. I'll be able to create one and start it. Then from there you can be able to move to login. And you're able for the first 0124 and the password, and you're able to log in. So once you're able to log in, we try to simplify the aspect of the process. That follows the information that you quickly need to enter once, maybe for some time, either once annually, once in 2-3 years, and let's change this. You don't have to keep on repeating it every quarter. So to simplify the work, we divide it into 5 areas. The first one is the institutional details. And institutional details carries the name of the institution code, the email of the accounting officer, county, headquarters, if it is involved, then the title and the name of the studio. Then you have the second part is coordination and capacity building. It will ask you whether you are appointed a focal person. If yes, you provide the details of the person. Then you also attach the appointment letter for the focal person. Then if you also appointed champions, if the answer is no, there are 2 options. No, if you have no, then you have nothing to that. If the answer is yes, then definitely you can attach the document and you will attach the champion. And have the institution for champions participate in training? If yes, you can be able to say yes. If you're saying you are conducting this training every quarter, so you can be able to put the date to which this training are able to be done. So after this training, you add this week training to the new schedule, so that when you come to quarter 4 reporting, quarter 3 reporting, so you start on Monday, the first of it, you should be able to select that training. It will help us. It's also informed certification. No? So we are planning to have certificate at the end of the annual, at the end of quarter 4 training. And even we are going to issue to members who have been consistently attending to the one certificate. For purpose of ensuring that this you have been able to understand and like that able to be. And then develop and implement the STI strategy. If you have developed, you start with the work plan. If you have developed the annual work plan, you are task 1. If you have developed and installed a strategy, you can also go to the file wherever it is this PDF format, then upload that PDF which will be part of the evidence. Then at stage 4, you have STI guiding documents. The guiding documents are 2 policy documents, the research policy and the IP policy. So if you have already developed the research policy, you can load. I know the policy documents go to the council or to the boards. So some of them are still in draft format, but you already have an approved document in Jakarta. And you still have a draft, possibly it's still undergoing approvals but has been completed or finalized. That's why I'm document that you can do this. Then the last, number 6, and not the least, is contribution towards implementation of standard management international obligations. If you are part of that implementation, it's the yes. If you are not, you can say no. You only have institutions in this category that fall under yes, like Taro, Healthcare Agriculture, Register Research Organization, and Cambridge. Those who deal with biological specimens, biological materials, and they are able to teach them and store them to their that category, which will get stable. If not, then we can collect them. So if the answer is yes, you just click yes and you update. So if you want to be able to show you in terms of reporting, that before I come to the reporting of the balance sheet, possibly allow me to just get to the case of the case of the step that I involved. So under step 1, we have given you the table. We have been a request over this bad water for focal persons to have the tables for data collection. The focal persons have only 1 person, and we are the one who are supposed to do. So to be assisted by the champions, the focal persons have requested you to maintain the table, so that in case you want to collect data from HR and then the champion from HR support to you, you'll be able to collect the data on HR. If you want to collect data on RSPI expenditure, you need an accountant or somebody from finance, he can use the table to update. Then once he's able to update the focus pattern, he can start adjusting. So based on that, if first you have the tables available, you have loaded them. But in case the changes are minimal, like if you look at the first stage, so we have these data that you request within those areas that is mandatory. So step 9 is for those who are doing Kenya's national obligations, which are not many, but they are still there. We have the staff establishments, human resource capacity, infrastructure, expenditure, infrastructure. So once you're able to put that, you can click save and continue. Takes it to step 3. Step 3, you'll be able to keep in the data that is relevant to the agency. You can be able to put here number of staff who are in the approved establishment, those who are already on board. If you have any foreign staff doing this, then you're able to put. Then you can be able to put the papers as the director general. So if it's like the university, you have the BC, the BVC, if you are 2 or 3 within the university. Then there is registrar, deputy registrar, all the way to professors, and also person. If you actually technology, so once you're able to put the data, you're able to fill the then we're able to fill and populate data concerning the various areas of data capacity based on the 5 key areas that we will study: agriculture, the engineering and technology, medical and health sciences, environmental and sciences, and natural sciences. Then under the various level of study, we have the bachelor's, the PhD, master's, bachelor's, diploma, and as given in the table, we're able to populate gender, male, female, age, above or less than 15. So if you have already entered these data, what you do is to is their thinking. So you can check from the tables from you get from the champion. If there is anything that has happened within that table, they can highlight for you in red as well. So when you come to this entry, you don't have to do the entire entry like this. You just go to that specific cell. You get humanity, master, engineering, you click edits. If they have been updated on your staff, maybe 6, so you can type 6 and you can save and continue. And that one will continue. So we don't make smart work easier for the focus pattern. So you just need to edit from the details. And once the data is done, the data for quarter 2 will be superimposed in quarter 3. So when quarter 3 is open, it will put all the data in quarter 3. So when you log in, you just need to change one and change. So there are only maybe 2 or 3 areas in which to take in on. Equipment is said is cumulative. So whatever was there in quarter 1, we continue. So when I talk about equipment, we're not talking about equipment for 2 and internal. We are talking about the entire working equipment as a university and manufacturing. So this one is cumulative. If you go on building, I know there will be a question of the amounts, maybe this is something that finance can help you. We also do what we call evaluation to ensure that. Yes.
Sorry, there's someone who can't hear you clearly. I don't know whether maybe you can do without the earphones.
Or without the earphones.
Maybe they could hear you clearly.
Maybe for internet bandwidth and possibly work with that. I hope, am I clear now?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir, that's better.
Okay, thank you. So you're saying for the purposes of equipment, it's cumulative. So you can get all the equipment that the institution owns and whether they are working condition or not. So it's not something that you do every quarter. So it's cumulative. You populate the entire data on the equipment as long as they are functional and they still hold Kenya shillings 0.5 million. And you're saying this one is based on equipment that can be shareable and can be used across the process. So after you're able to edit that, you can delete an entry. If equipment is no longer in use, like now if you're doing disposal of assets and supply chain or finance tells you this equipment is disposed, you can just come and click remove it from your list. If something has changed, maybe after appreciation or depreciation, you can click edit and change that entry. If there is a new entry for a new equipment, you just click add. That entry will be done. If there is no changes that have happened to your cumulative equipments this quarter, you do not have to change that table. You just click save and continue. It will take you to step 5. So step 5, it will take you to expenditure. This is one of the tables that you have to fill quarterly because you report on actual quarter expenditure. I hope you can see this column on actual quarter expenditure. So I'm already at quarter 2. So when you log into quarter 3, your system will automatically update this to quarter 3 next week. So what you'll be entering in this column is the actual expenditure being spent on quarter 3, either from GOK, grants and funds, from donors and partners, or appropriations in aid. Whatever the entries that you have. So this data, as I said, it's pulled from quarter 2 to here. So if you have a new funding that has come between January and has come in between January and March this year, you can click add that expenditure and it's part of this. If you have already had the budget for the annual year added at the beginning of quarter 2 or quarter 1, then you basically do not need to change this. But always check that you'll be reporting on quarter 3 and your entries will only reflect the entries for this column will be entries that of quarter 3. So I think that's one of the tables that has clear. Then for programs, these are long-term programs that are undergoing. They could be with partners. You're calling them collaborative programs, yeah? Could having a program with the county government, a program with a donor partner, the World Bank, IMF, USAID, DFID, SIDA, or any other partner that you have within. That's why you have given here a list. The collaboration could be with universities, TVETs, industry, private sector, community, civil societies, other MDAs. You could have MOUs with MDAs, development partners, and private sector. So all these are key players in terms of those collaborative projects. Others could be projects that are fully funded by the exchequer. They can still come in and you put that the university or the research institution as a government or exchequer funded program, which is undertaking for that level. So if there are any that have happened within the last, you can add them here. If you have already populated the programs that you have and are continuing, you can click Save and Continue. It will take you to outputs. Outputs, we have the categories that we had already mentioned. If you click here, Edit, you click here, it will give you the selected that were in Excel. I don't know whether there are new ones that have not been captured here, from commercialized products, copyrights, intellectual property, patents, intellectual property, trademarks, intellectual property, utility models, MOUs, partnerships, whatever that could be, you can be able to put. If there are any that are existing, if you have 2 policy briefs, you can say, if you have 2 peer-reviewed papers in journals or 10, you can add them. Then the area to which they have been able to be done, then you're able to put any remarks. Maybe they have been published and maybe at what journal that they have been published. Then you can be able to have all that entries continue. So whatever has happened from January to December will still remain. Your work is now to cumulatively add. So if you had done 2 policy briefs and now in this period, in the remarks here, you can add something like January to December, 1 policy brief, and then from January to March, 3 policy briefs. They can be part of the remarks, but this one is cumulative. So that at the end of the year, the end of 4th quarter, you have all your research and technology outputs being given, and possibly between the periods which these cumulative aspects have been done. You can save and continue. The last one is to do with dissemination. So this one is to do with areas in which your RSTI outputs have gone, conferences, scientific conferences, webinars, seminars, symposiums. Some of them you have done through websites, social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, if you have such trainings. You could be doing flyers, leaflets, brochures, banners. You could be attending open days and any other. So all these features, when you click like a place where you have edits, you can be able to have all those populated. It's good that you can let us know if among this list is not exhaustive, there is a dissemination mode that you did and you cannot see it within this list. Just let us know, we can add it as part of this list to ensure that whatever mechanisms that have been there has been done. I think from there you can click Save and Continue. If you had selected that you are participating in international obligations, I said Carol, Camry, people dealing with biological cases of microorganisms. Now, this is your part. You are able to come and put the mechanisms and containment facilities, scope and general description of those activities. Then whatever they are, you can be able to, at the bottom, you're able to save and continue. So one of the key aspects that MDAs have requested us to do is to add this feature that was missing before, to review your data and print before submitting. So there are cases where accounting officers, director generals and VCs or DVCs, whoever is sending the forwarding letter, would want to see what you're forwarding. And for that reason, I think the focal points have been having a challenge to request a letter to forward, and the accounting officer is also sure what letter is ready to forward. He wants to see what's been forwarded. So before the letter is generated, you can be able to generate the reports of what you have keyed in. You can print if they want a soft copy. If they want a PDF copy, you can save. You can select and say you want to save it as a PDF, then you can save it. So it will give you what you have populated from all the fields. And you can print and make it as an enclosure to your forwarding letter so that the CEO or whoever is signing that letter is able to see what information have you filled for submission. Sometimes they may have some comments to make. Sometimes there could be some omissions that he could have noted and he may want you to add. So once he's able to see this and as an enclosure to the forwarding letter, it will be a good document to which you're able to work with. So you're saying at that point, if you're able now to have that, you are able to have it, then you can be able now to submit. At this level, you submit and you're able to complete the reporting process. I think for the past quarter, we had quite a number of successful cases, and we hope that you will also not have challenges in quarter 3. So another thing that is also there, once you submit, you can also see a report. You can also generate a report if you want after submission. This is after the CEO's letter is attached, and as part of the attachment, it will be indicated, and you'll be able to see that. Another thing that has also been here is a feedback letter. Sometimes we send by email, and that feedback letter, for whatever reasons, sometimes the focal person may not have received it. Like where the focal person changes and is sent to the email of the focal persons. So we have found it easier to have the letter also. Once it's sent by email, it is also send a copy of that letter. So like now, if it's quarter 2, you can click here and you can get the letter that was submitted to the accounting officer on your quarterly report, which is a good way to ensure that also focal persons and people reporting are able to get the output. So that's the reporting process and reporting template in a nutshell. So in case you need help, there is this button here, possibly you can be able to put your name, email, then you say you may need to request something. Maybe you want to change the login credentials. Then you're able to type that message and make it available. Then you can say, there are cases where focal persons are living and they're living with a person of the institution. So whoever is appointed to become the focal person just gets stuck and cannot continue. So for purposes of also the focal person feeling secure, he can be able to request for that, and we can change from our side and stop, so that in such cases of changes, we'll be able to receive that message and you'll be able to revert back to you with the changes. So that's all about that. I think so far so good. And we appreciate the effort that the focal persons and the MDs are doing in terms of reporting. Thank you. Chair, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Cyrus. for that important session, and I think this is very important for our colleagues, our seniors, and the research and universities sector and research institution, because this the next immediate action that you need to do in terms of reporting for Q3, and that's the whole essence for these commitment that NACOSTI as a specialized agency, insofar as this indicator is concerned, we need to have this conversation immediately before reporting, so that we are able to get it right. And we thought this is a very important avenue for us to have this kind of a discussion, so that we get it right. And you could see some of the issues that are coming through. Was checking on the question and comment section in terms of what we need to do and some of the things that were not clear. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, maybe perhaps you were guided. So thank you, Cyrus, for breaking it down to that level for ourselves, for implementation. I think we are progressing well, and I know at the points we may not want to take much of your time, because we have shared with you what is more important, what is so critical, and I like that what is coming through from some of our colleagues and what came from the Director General in terms of some of the clarity, so that it helps you in building into these. There are some of the things we ask you about publication, the patents, and I know it has been a challenge for you within a quarter. Maybe there is nothing else. I think we have to amend our tools so that we get cumulative. In a way, I'm saying this to respond to some of the things that I've seen from our seniors asking. Yes, we may need to have them cumulative, because if it is patent for the next, if it is registered today, it will be valid for the next 20 years. And I think that in the light of what Director General was mentioning, if it is patent publications, could we get all those cumulative figures over that period of time? But more importantly is to really thank you for your time here. So if it is allowable, I can just try to make the next piece of presentation very quick, so that we have an open forum quick later. I wouldn't be long enough. I would wish to take the shortest time period, so that I spare you the time to interrogate our processes, and more so we receive your comment. My colleagues on the other end, is my screen visible insofar as the template is concerned?
Yes, it's visible, Daktari. You can go ahead.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know I'm speaking to the converted, and I would take the shortest time period, because the essence of this session now was to share and help the few of our colleagues who are joining for the first time, who are in the process of preparing their institutional STI mainstreaming strategy. And I think this is a very important document, because these are documents that we are foreseeing that will be very important, because these are documents that can outlive the STI mainstreaming as a performance contract, because through this process, we want to see how to domicile, we want how to institutionalize the matters of science, technology, and innovation across our system. But more importantly is not what NACOST need to dictate, but what NACOST need to advocate, that we use STI matters and more so interventions to help our institution in execution of their mandate. So I'll just speak briefly, not more than 15 minutes, so that I give you opportunity, because I'm saying when we are speaking about matters STI mainstreaming in our program, in our activities, this is a document that we're going to actualize that. So take it from that angle. I just want to speak about the practical aspect of this indicator. But with your permission, allow me to quickly indicate that where is the legal basis of the STI mainstreaming? We have said this before, but just allow me to repeat for our colleagues who are joining the committees for the first time. And the most important is that this STI Act of 2013 that gave birth to National Commission for Science and Technology, NACOSTI, what Director General has enumerated before, it gave birth to the NRF, the funding agency, the Kenya, the implementer of the research outputs thereof. This law had a very clear three purposes. But I know you people, you are busy. We don't want to delve into all these. I just want to pick one of the purposes that has brought us here. One of the most important aspects of the STI Act was to entrench the Science, Technology, and Innovation Act into our production system. Into our production system, we mean into your programs, into your activities. Why? Because all of us, we are in this business, insofar as promoting matters science, technology, and innovation in our various aspects. And that's why we are here. So the science, technology, and innovation mainstreaming has its basis in this legal framework. And in that, our message is this is a national agenda. It's not an NACOSTI agenda. We are looking at it at broader than that. So if we have that comfort of agreeing with that, this is what the performance contract platform has allowed us to put forward for our institution. And this is what you have committed to develop: institutional framework, institutional strategy. What I had said before, it has allowed you to develop an annual work plan to implement that strategy and your quarterly reporting. My colleague Cyrus had just elaborately clearly indicated to you, we are expected to report within the next 14 or 2 weeks to come. So he's dealt with our actual quarterly reporting and the mechanism you are putting in terms of the reporting. But there are those who are yet to develop. I know some of our colleagues who are still developing the institutional STI mainstreaming strategy. I know I'm speaking to the scholars, you've been doing this document, but what we are saying here is that we're just presenting you a very summarized template to help you do this, which should not be a difficult task to your level. But what we are saying, the main issue is that we are only giving you a template to help you articulate your issues from your own angles. How do you want to take on board matters STI? So that what the law, the STI Act of 2013, its aspiration as a country and a sector, we thought we would entrench matters STI into our programs. But then how do we articulate that? How do we go around that? So we are thankful to the government for having provided the STI mainstreaming as one of the performance contract indicator, so that it can help us institutionalize and even help us in doing the frameworks around how we need to do that. So what I just want to share, I will just gloss over in the next few minutes, just the template that we have provided, which is a very generic. So again, take it from that angle. But for obvious reason, it's for us to provide an implementation framework for what we are speaking. And this generic framework that we have is what I'm calling an STI strategy template that for the last 2 years we have shared with the public. For uniformity purposes, it's a very broad, it's a very simple, very specific document that we want you to articulate your own issues in your own language, in your own color and shape. That how do we articulate matters, science, technology, and innovation in our systems, in our activities? Chapter 1, we want you to tell us who are yourselves. This is for the purpose and for the result for performance contract. Chapter 2, we want you to look at yourself internally and then with a very biased window or lens, science, technology, and innovation aspects. Do a social analysis about yourselves. Where do you need us to deploy STI intervention to assist you? Chapter 3, we want to get some of the strategic direction you may want to take to help yourselves. And if you sort that right, you get it right for the country, you get it right for your institution. Chapter 4, we want to give you just a simple layout or implementation framework for how we measure this, because we always argue what can be measured, always can be done. But again, we want to ask you and invite you to help us promise or advocate for what can be measured, what can be implemented. And chapter 5.1. So this is the template that Nakosi has shared, which majority of yourselves, again, my apology for repeating the obvious, you have already gone through this. Majority of yourselves, you have even, you had this even before, but this we are only presenting for the purpose of uniformity, for the purpose of the performance contract conformity. So this is what we are putting to the public. So in a few minutes, very brief, I won't go into details. Chapter 1, we are talking about the introduction. We are telling you, describe yourself to us. Who are the experts who can speak your story? Yourselves, you can speak your own story. Who are yourself? What are your functions? What are your mandates? What are your category? And what is your historical background? Different institutions have different historical background. So that's all what you're asking chapter 1. It can be a paragraph, 2-page, 5-page, depending on what you want to do, but we want you to be articulate enough to speak to the world. Chapter 2 of this document, again, I'm pretty fast because I said I'm speaking to the converted. Chapter 2, we are inviting you to do an internal evaluation with a very biased lens of science, technology, and innovation. How strong are you in terms of STI matters? How weak are you in terms of STI matters? What are your worries? What are your concerns in terms of threats and weaknesses around matters, science, technology, and innovation? Remember, that's what we are presenting to the country. We want to make a meaningful progress. We need to address that. So chapter 2, we are only inviting institutions to analyze themselves internally. This is SWOT. SWOT is an internal tool for analyzing yourselves. We are not going to the PESTEL, external environment, but we are dealing with the SWOT, dealing with the internal. So how strong are you? How weak are you? And what are your worries and concerns? Forget about all those examples given in there. Those are just generic examples to guide you. But in this chapter, we want to mainly to pick your weaknesses and your threats. So in chapter 3, we are able to address them. And address them how? Because today we are speaking to champions, focal persons, because you are the people who champion these to your institution. So chapter 2 is just to do a situation analysis, which should be self-reflection. But what is important is in chapter 3, how do you want to address the gaps, the issues, your worries, and your concerns that you have identified in chapter 2. So Chapter 3 is give you that you are that strategic orientation, but we want you to be guided by your bigger document, because this is a sub-strategy. It's been guided by your mandate, your function, and your strategy plan. So we are not changing anything from the vision. We are not asking you to craft a vision, mission for this document. Customize what your vision is, where it's headed, where it's projected. But more important, this chapter 3, we want to present this to you. This is our value proposition to the country, that we are saying a country
David Amiami, I think we have lost Daktari.
Hey, Daktari,
David,
we
you
are
can hear
losing
me?
you. We can't hear you.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, go ahead.
Great. So I dropped out on which slides? Strategic issues.
Yes.
Okay. So sorry for that. So what I was presenting to our colleagues is that our value proposition for this NACOSTI as a specialized agency in matters these, we are presenting these 8 strategic issues for the country to consider. But are they important internally? Yes, they are important at the institutional level. They're important at the country level. They're also important at regional level and even global level. We are speaking of these 8 strategic issues that we are saying, we are giving you a template, a 5-chapter document for you to articulate how to take care of these 8 issues. But we are not restricting you to these 8 issues, because you know your institution are responsible for generating new knowledge and giving the lead to the country. So you could add many other issues that you think they are important for your institution and they are also important for your country. But this is what NACOSTI is presenting. So we are saying, for you to develop your institutional STI mainstreaming strategy, these are the bare minimum we're giving you, but we are not restricting you to these. One, for example, I want to pay attention to this for a minute or so, then that will be it. Human resource development, look at all your strategic plan across. I know this is one of your issue, one of your pillars, how to strengthen the capacity in there. Here we are inviting you to address the matters HR capacity insofar as how do you want to articulate the issues of the STI, science, technology, and innovation and research. Do you want to recruit? Would you wish to retrain? Would you wish to retool? Those stuff you have. Because there is no any country will make any meaningful development however strong financially they are endowed without human resource capacity, issues of HR, issues of institutional infrastructure around the STI and the digital aspect. Again, these are one of the priority pillars for the current government. Digital highway and all these comes into the space into that. So again, when we are speaking about infrastructure for STI and digital, we are speaking the language of the current government. And this is what we are giving you an open check. What do you want to do? What do you wish to do as a research institution, as you are universities, generators of new knowledge? How do you want to position yourselves in that? We are living in a rapidly changing times technologically. How do you want to position yourself in that? So what NACOSTI is presenting a strategic issue. Infrastructure, insofar as STI and digital, is a key issue. How do you want to take care of that? Issues of funding in matters research, science, technology. And you heard our president the other day that we are headed there, that institutions need to go out of their way to be able to see how to fund themselves. And I, because I'm now here speaking to institutional learning, I know your mantra there has been either you publish or perish. And I think what the president was telling us the other day is beyond that. Either you innovate or perish. Now it's beyond the publish and or perish, but we are being invited to see how to innovate if you don't want to perish. So how do we want to innovate around the issues of increasing financing, the matters science, technology, and innovation, our STI ecosystem? We need to think outside the box because government resources are diminishing, but we need to exist. We need to deliver on our mandates. The issues of collaboration and partnership. Again, I'm saying these 8 strategic issues is what NACOSTI is putting on the table as key strategic issues for you to consider. But these are important to yourselves and to the country. The issues of technology development, tech transfer, technology diffusion. You are in the space of tech development, innovations, and all these. That is your core areas. How do you want to deal with that issues? So we are asking you, what are the strategies you want to put there? Because we are speaking to resource, to focal persons, to the champions who need to champion these for your institution. How do you want to address this issue? Education, much as is ongoing in terms of the reforms, training and research. Very broad cross-cutting issue for our institution. How do you want to articulate that? Issues of awareness, issues of gender, mainstream gender. Well, we are talking about inclusivity here. Just even like constituting the committees that are listening to us this morning and this afternoon. How well are they constituted in terms of the gender? So this is our value proposition, what we are giving to the country, that this is the bare minimum we want to see in your strategy. But link all these issues to where the country is going. That do we need to review your institutional strategies around these issues to match with what has been launched recently by His Excellency the President about the MTP4? Do you need to relook at these issues? So because I'm saying these both for those who are preparing their STI mainstream strategy and those who already have, do you need to relook at it in the view that we have MTP4 launched? That is it. But as a NACOSTI, as a specialized agency, we feel like these are the issues that if you pay attention to this one, we'll be somewhere as a country and as an institution. So those are the 8 strategic issues. But my point is you link them with the chapter 2. Chapter 2, we said you look at yourself internally. that what are the main issues you are seeing as your own weaknesses, as your own challenges. Are they around these issues? What would you prefer? We are giving you an open check so that you propose what you want to do in those areas. So we have given you this layout of how to articulate those 80 issues that we have proposed. But remember, underline, we are not saying those are not the only. You can add many other. But for a good example, just to share as an example, because as I conclude, because I need to quickly conclude this matter. For example, the issue number one, I'm not saying this is the most important. They are not in the order of priority, but for example, and for demonstration purposes, human resource development, we need to answer two questions here. The what and the how. If we are able to answer the issue of the what and how, insofar as the human resource development is concerned, what do we need to do? That becomes our strategic objective. What do we need to do around the issues of human resource development? For example, we have shared to you, probably, do you wish to improve quality? Do you wish to address the capacity of what you around have there in terms of talent management? That is the what question that forms the objectives. The final column, we want to answer the question how. How do we do that? And that forms part of our priority for our strategies. Strategies, these are the things we say that are doable within your period of a year, 2 years, 5 years. How do you want to address the matters human resource? Example, if it is quality, do we need to increase the capacity? Do we need to recruit? Probably because of your diversity, the issue is to ensure gender parity across STI program. For example, the issues of infrastructure, what would you wish to do in your institution to improve infrastructure? To answer that what question is for you to tell us. These are not just generic. We are not telling you to do this to enhance, to strengthen infrastructure, but you are at different levels, so this question should speak to your language. What would you wish to do? But our focus is how. How do you want to do that? What will be the strategies around achieving that? For example, infrastructure for STI, for digital readiness. We are living in a very rapidly changing times. The fifth industrial revolution is here with us. Do you want to sit back and be caught flat-footed, or do you need to do something proactively before we are rendered irrelevant? Do you need to modernize? Do you wish to improve what you have? So this is a template that I'm saying that it is a catalyst that we are providing to our research institute to position themselves for what is coming. Great. So issues of funding, I'm just only picking examples so that you can be able to see the thought process, what we were thinking and what we were thinking when we were picking these 8 issues. Funding issues, we are saying the government resources is building. If it is diminishing, what would you wish to do? What will be your strategies? I've just highlighted one of the strategy in line with what is in our STI Act, that the government is expected to put 2% of the GDP to matters R&D. So what would be your commitment insofar as your operational budget in the research, in R&D? Would that be a smart objective for yourselves that you can be able to measure now and maybe come 2028? What will I be able to achieve? Those are some of the things you say, because we are inviting you to develop smart strategy that are measurable. Okay. Technology development. technology transfer, technology diffusion. You are in the core of that space. Yesterday, we were talking to TVET. They were in the core of that space. So what do you want to do insofar as tech development is concerned? As an example, would you wish to strengthen your internal processes in the IP regimes, internal mechanism or structure or organization or facilities around the offices to promote that? Those could be your objectives. Probably so many other could be your strategies, how to handle that. We will not dictate this, but we would say technology development, technology transfer, and technology diffusion, it is you in your core business because you are knowledge generators, and what you are generating need to get to the end users. So as a strategic issue, how do you want to deal with that? So that's what we are proposing to you. For those who have developed that already, we want to thank you, and for what you articulated, we have no problem with that. But chapter 4, I said it's a 5-chapter document. Chapter 4, we just wish to speak to the implementation framework for your institutional strategy, because it is one thing to do a strategy document. It is the second matter how to ensure it is implemented. So chapter 4, what we are proposing to the public is the implementation framework, that all those strategies that you have crafted, in all those 8 strategic issues we have given you, plus all other strategic issues you will have picked yourselves that are important to yourselves. So how do we measure them? Because this is just a measuring tool. For example, we are saying if it is human resource development, how would you want to measure your strategy? If, for example, your strategy was to increase personnel, what we would expect from you is to tell us what will be the expected results. Because this should not come from Nacosti, it should come from yourself. What should be the performance indicator if you promised us in the next 5 years you're going to recruit 10 or 5 or 100 staff? What should be performance indicator? Would it not be in the number recruited? If you promise us to recruit, what will be your measure of or means of verification that we would want, or yourselves would go in there and verify whether you have recruited? That will be your means of verification. We are not saying human resource record is the means of verification. You have better. Maybe you have other better ways of. But the more important, and I want to reiterate this from what my colleague Javan had spoken early in the morning, estimated cost, because I need to pay attention there, because we have had issues there. Institution asking us, Nacosti, okay, you are pushing this very well. We agree it is very important for the country. B, this is going to help as a region. 2, great. But where is the budget to do this? So my colleague spoke about the role of champions and the need for yourselves to have champions across different departments. For example, if you have a champion from finance or accounts, would be able to help you articulate in your bigger strategy plan, 2023, 2027, 2028. What were your projections insofar as matters human resource development? And we asked to ask you, this strategy is a sub-strategy. It should fall in there. The issues of budget allocation will not arise because they need to fall there. But more important is that get to know this document is a catalyst to help you attain your strategic plan faster. And that's why we say catalyst. You know, catalysts are the agents that make the action be processed faster than what you want to do. So consider these as one of the catalysts, those who are coming from those physical sciences category. And it will add a lot of value if you yourselves as champion and focal person, you're able to present this to an institution that this is what we are proposing for us to achieve which we articulated to achieve in 5 years, we can be able to get there in the next 2 or 1 year. Infrastructure. If your issue was to allocate fund for expansion, what do we want to see there? Is it improved infrastructure? Performance contract indicator? Is it the number of equipment you are deploying there and all those? So that is a schematic flow. I wouldn't speak this more than that to the experts, because you are the experts in that area. But chapter 4 speaks just to that framework, help us measure that. And finally, in a minute or so, chapter 5, I said it's a 5-chapter document, very brief one. It could be 5-page document that articulate everything that you need to do as you. It could be a 100-page document, but articulate your issues in those chapter 5. Chapter 5, we ask you to, how would you measure? How would you evaluate? And how would you review your document? How would you measure? How would you confirm that you're on track? What you promised us, what you promise yourselves as a country is important, and how would it be measured? Exactly. And we are not asking you to reinvent the wheel. You have your internal documented procedures of how to do monitoring and evaluation. Customize that. But the most important message for me here, this document, the organ to monitor and evaluate it is focal person and the champions. Have that in that chapter, that you are the one who are responsible. Also let us know, because these are live documents, how would you want to review it? Midterm, is it end term, or is it when need arise? A sentence also in there. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I should share that, and I know I'm repeating this to some of yourselves who have already this document, but you're already in the implementation. So at least you can also help us in terms of feedback and comments and what we need to improve, even as we go to the next level. But more importantly, we are going to report it for Q3, and those of you who are preparing this document. So that's the quick roadmap. But my parting shot is it simple? Is it so difficult? So don't worry about all those. That's why you have this panel today from NACOSTI side of you, so that they should be able to work with you, and they should be able to assist you in articulating that what I've said with so many words. It's their business to make it simpler for you. It's their business to help you walk around that journey. Thank you so much. Let me end there, so I can very sure now that we are approaching that time, so that we can open it up, ladies and gentlemen, to your concerns around the issues of STI strategy development, reporting tool, and what we had in the morning about the requirement for the indicator, because the Director General with his product presentation, he's not with us. But just any other, as I have said, it's your forum, just any other issues, even outside those 3 or 4 presentations. Kindly, please take the floor and you engage. My colleagues, you are enabled to look at what is on the chat, respond to our colleagues. These are our colleagues in the sector, and what they are raising. I know each and every one of you, from where you are sitting, you are able to respond to what they're asking in the comment and the question. Feel free to take the floor and respond. Dear participant, you can also raise your hands, so to be enabled to shoot direct your question.
There is a hand by Aden. Maybe he can speak.
Aden, you are empowered to raise your issue. My colleagues, you're also free to pick anything from the chat and question and respond directly, because this now is an open forum. Take advantage. If you have picked something, you have picked any question, just take the floor and respond. I know they also benefit from your voices and your wisdom. Thank you, Patrick Bindio, for appreciating what we are doing. We should be able to be at your service. Should there be anything that you require from us? Professor Agwata, the presentation will be shared. I can assure you that.
We have Christopher. You can speak.
Christopher, you'll be given the powers.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Mine is just to appreciate the whole team and the presentations that we are attending the first time. We are heavily gifted in terms of learning about the STI. And going forward, I want to say that we shall try, and whenever we have a problem, please feel free to engage with us, because we shall be disturbing you, if I could use the word, from time to time. But generally, on behalf of my team at Kisii University, I'd wish to appreciate the team for the well-thought presentation, including the Director General. We are so much being gifted in terms of his presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for your feedback. My commitment, again, is as I've always indicated to our colleagues, we're just a phone call away and an email away for your service. Why? Because NACOSTI, we are considered as specialized agency insofar as this indicator is concerned. So consider it as our business to sort your issues. So reach out to this team that we are seeing on the wall. So reach it to ourselves, because it's our responsibility to do that. And thank you so much for being on board. And this is the letter and the spirit of ourselves having this kind of forum to make things simpler for ourselves. So remember why we are having this, and my team from this end has always been so strategic that we have this just close to before you report for every quarter, so that they are able to address your concerns and your issues before reporting. Because for performance contract, remember the issues of reporting and evidences. That's why this team is here, and they're keenly listening how they can help you in terms of ensure you report correctly. But the bigger picture is, it is our business. It's to make it easy for you. So thank you, colleague. Any other issue, you are free.
Dr. Gigi, sorry, I had some issues with the internet from my end, but I don't know whether this question from Professor Jones Agwata has been answered, where he's asking if an institution has a new strategic plan, should the STI strategy be revised accordingly? Have we reacted to that, or I can react to it?
Not yet, Javan, please.
Oh, thank you, Prof. I think I covered much in my presentation on the areas of strategic plan, MTP force, and such. Every institution, there was a circular that was released last year, of course, with the incoming in office of the new government, that all MDAs needed to revise their strategic plan. In fact, it's a target within our PCs, and every MDA has it within their core mandate as per the guidelines to review their strategic plan and align them specifically with the MTP4 and better, the 5 pillars. So Prof, with that directive, I don't know how new is your strategic plan, but ideally as per August last year, because the circular, the final, the guidelines, the strategic plan guidelines, the 5th generation strategic plan guidelines were released by August last year. And that meant that that was the time that all of us, all MDAs, were supposed to review and align their strategic plans with those guidelines, with the 5th generation guidelines, which had already been aligned with MTP4. So it's for you to maybe new, if for example, you have done it this year, then that means you have already aligned. But ideally, it's from August last year that alignment should have taken place. And alignment simply meant that you comply with the guidelines, the 5th generation guidelines that were issued for strategic plan that were issued by the State Department of Economic Planning. So maybe you can verify with the relevant office that is concerned with that to ascertain at what level, where exactly is your SP. But all strategic plans were to be realigned with MTP4 and those guidelines. Thank you, Dr.
Okay, thank you, Jevan, for that. Some of further issue, I want to pick an issue from Dr. Alex Mudengi. Dr. Thank you so much for your comments and direction. And that's what I had said early in the morning, that this forum we normally created for receiving the feedback, suggestions, comments, and queries from the stakeholders. You are proposing for us having a physical meeting for the champions and the focal person. The same came through from the TVET institution. So now this is a demand-driven a request that we need to organize for that. It has been there. And what we are agreeing, it's true, depending on the institution capability, we will take it on board. And I want to say here on record that being a demand-driven has been requested even yesterday with your colleagues from the tertiary institution, that we need to have this physical engagement, whether regional, whether at your place or a centralized place. But I want to agree with you, Dr. Mbengi, we need going forward to have this, because we need to strengthen this. We are all in it together. And again, we need to provide a forum. So these are some of the things that we are very happy to receive from yourself. So as we respond to this, we respond to demand-driven. Remember what my Director General had indicated earlier, that we already have developed 8 certification modules, but those are voluntary for those who need to be certified as STI professionals. It is not any pressure to yourselves, to your institution, because they are voluntary. You can attend anytime that you feel like. We are going to roll them out. We had requested in Q2, that was in December, for your expression of interest. Thank you so much for the many of you who have expressed interest. So based on your expression of interest, we are preparing a program, how to roll it out. It will be purely voluntary, and it will be if and when you are available to attend, so that we divorce the two from the STI mainstreaming and those other certification modules. But again, even what you are proposing and what we got from your colleagues from the TVET institution, I think we need to go that direction, and we want to appreciate your input. My team, if there are any other issues that you have picked, you need to respond to colleagues, that just like what Javan has picked that, please go ahead and respond, because this is our forum with our stakeholders. Presentation, Professor Agwata, presentation will be shared. I can assure you that, because this material are meant for capacity building, they should be shared. You can access all this material on the YouTube. Again, our ICT team share the links where our colleagues from the sector can access them. Can we have the recording? Yes, you can have them. And I'm very sure they will be sharing the links. Great. I think that is it. And from where I sit, I think I'm okay. My panelists in the form of the STI mainstreaming committee from Nacosti, anything from your end? Anyone who want to say last word? Anything
Cyrus
that we
here,
have not covered? Cyrus?
Cyrus, yeah, I think there is none that has been covered, but as you have said, for those who are new and do not have credentials, they can reach out to PC at Nacosti, who will provide the credentials, but you have to confirm you are the focal person. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And again, as my colleague is indicating, that's where I only ask you for appointment from the appointing authority, that we know in this era and the space of the data sharing and data protection act, we are dealing with the person assigned and really responsible for institutional data sharing. So that's why my colleague is specific that whoever has been appointed as a focal person by the appointing authority, please go ahead and share with us that the data. Great. So if from my background team, there are no any other issue that you feel we needed to respond to this critical, important stakeholder ourselves in this RSTI sector, I would wish to bring it to an end at that. And I really want to thank each and every one of you for sacrificing your time. Most importantly, we don't want to take it for granted. That you're just here just for the sake of being here. We are very appreciative that you are going to spend to save this time, to share your time with us, for us to have this national discussion around the matters of science, technology, and innovation, for us to see how to address and take our country forward. So thank you so much. And again, as I reiterate, always reach out in case of anything. Don't have any issue. You have a way to ventilate your worries, your comments, and your concerns to ourselves, which would be at your disposal. So thank you, and I want to thank everybody, and let's reconvene here next quarter for fourth quarter reporting. Asanteni sana and kwaheri.